Is it transphobic to say only women have a cervix?
Well, it is something that shouldn't be said. It is not right. A woman is an adult female, and the court has made that absolutely clear. I actually welcome the judgment because I think it gives real clarity. It allows those that have got to draw up guidance to be really clear about what that guidance should say. If you want to fight for Remain, vote Labour. Now, there are some who say we don't need Brexit to work. We need to reverse it. I couldn't disagree more. Day after day, there are new allegations of sleaze, of favours, of privileged access. And it's all very well the Prime Minister saying, well, say now, well, I'm paying for it.
You've decided to repay £6,000 worth of gifts.
Lord Ali is facing an investigation. I wonder how concerned you are that your biggest donor was not fully transparent.
Are you saying you made a mistake?
It was right for me to make those repayments. Thank you. Of course, I wouldn't want Donald Trump round for dinner, but don't.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Top of the morning to you. This is Talk Breakfast. I'm Mark Dolan. Welcome to the home of common sense. It is 2 minutes past 6 in the morning, not 2 minutes past 7. I hope you're coming in hot today with that extra hour of sleep. We've got a big 4 hours to come. An illegal migrant convicted of a sex attack on a 14-year-old girl is still on the run, having been released from jail accidentally. Where is this guy? Now, breaking this morning is the news that he actually had a return to prison. He went back to prison, but guards turned him away, saying, you don't need to come here. Absolutely disastrous. We'll give you full coverage of a story which has shocked a nation and which represents the terminal failure of our public institutions to keep us safe. And that's the topic of today's Dolan's Dispatch at 8 a.m. You won't want to miss it. It might get me cancelled. Good. That is Dolan's Dispatch at 8. I'm not pulling my punches. Also this morning, is the Labour Party about to take a dramatic shift leftwards? In a fresh political headache for Sir Keir Starmer, the ultra-woke Lucy Powell becomes his deputy leader. And already she's telling him to soften his position on immigration. Could a power struggle within the governing party of this country see Sir Keir Starmer ousted from number 10? And in a Talk Breakfast exclusive, a victory for our campaign to get ITV to recognise the genius of comedy double act Cannon and Ball. Well, the incredible Tommy Cannon will join us live for a special extra long interview at 9:30 this morning, in which he'll be talking about his life, the highs and lows of fame, his deep friendship with the late Bobby Ball, and the release of his long-awaited autobiography. That is Tommy Cannon at 9:30. Don't miss it. Big stories, big opinions. Don't forget the Dolan Dispatch, Tommy Cannon, and so much more. I want you to be part of the conversation. My priority is to get your views on the national television and radio airwaves. My number is 0344 499 1000. Text the word talk and your message to 87222. And as the saying goes, let's talk. And we start as ever with a romp through today's front pages, of course, the Sunday papers. The Sunday Telegraph, first of all, Starmer told to bin workers' rights. Now, this is an astonishing story. Labour's workers' rights bill risks crippling the jobs market. The party's favourite think tank has warned in a fresh challenge to Sir Keir Starmer. So just be clear about this. A left-wing think tank believes that Labour's workers' rights package is going to destroy jobs. Also, Louvre heist was an inside job, detectives believe. And freed Epping sex offender tried to hand himself in but was rejected. The Epping migrant, who was accidentally released from prison on Friday, tried, wait for it, 4 or 5 times to return to the facility. A witness said guards repeatedly turned Hadush Kabatu away and directed him to Chelmsford railway station as he tried to get back inside the prison. You couldn't make it up, could you? This country has become a tragic comedy. Mail on Sunday now. New class war bombshell. Reeves is plotting mansion tax raid on homes. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, could hit homeowners with a new mansion tax costing thousands of pounds a year as part of a class war plan being considered for next month's budget. Here's a question for you. Why should anyone work hard? Why should anybody get up in the morning and put in a 10, 12, 14-hour day and try and save some cash and buy a nice house if it's going to be taxed by Rachel from accounts? Well, they won't. People will not bother. They'll either leave the country or they'll just down tools and chill out like the rest of the population. Sunday Express now. 90% of councils to house migrants by the end of the year. More than 90% of councils will be housing asylum seekers by the end of 2025, according to The Express. Unemployed male migrants will be living at taxpayers' expense in communities across the country, as Home Office documents detailed how many could be moved into each region. You see, this is the problem. This is the red herring of the migrant hotels. Yes, it's completely wrong to accommodate illegal immigrants in hotels because it's very, very expensive and it's an impact on the community. They lose a little hub where you used to have weddings and christenings and funeral parties and leaving dues, right? If a community loses its big hotel, that's a massive impact. You also have the problem of bored men who are undocumented hanging around in the street during the day near schools, glaring at girls. The whole thing's completely unacceptable. But here's the point. Yes, you get rid of the migrant hotels, but they've got to live somewhere. And instead, they'll be in homes of occupants, multiple occupancy. They'll be in flats. They're still in the community. They still have a mobile phone. They still have spending money. It's completely unacceptable. All you're really doing is shifting the problem to a different location. The Observer now, let's have a look at their front page once I get past the big fat advert for some fancy clothing brand I've never seen before. The Observer, who trolled Virginia Giuffre? A look there into the scandal that continues to impact the royal family and surround and engulf Prince Andrew. The Sunday Times now, Andrew faces humiliation in the Commons. Prince Andrew faces a pincer movement from Parliament and Buckingham Palace to strip him of his dukedom and banish him from his 30-room mansion in Windsor. MPs are set to discuss Andrew's future, defying years of convention that usually prevents politicians from criticising the royal family. PM hit by new Hartlepool moment, says Wes Streeting. Labour has endured another Hartlepool moment. Of course, that was notoriously when they lost that by-election, and must show voters that they can deliver real change. This according to the Health Secretary, who likened last week's Caerphilly by-election loss to a defeat in 2021 that marked one of the lowest points of Sir Keir Starmer's time in opposition. Lucy Powell, who yesterday won Labour's deputy leadership contest in a boon for the soft left of the party, urged Starmer to be bolder and create a stronger sense of purpose. That is code for become even more left-wing. How's that working out for you? Britain has shifted left, haven't we, under Labour since July of last year. How's that working out for us? Higher unemployment, higher borrowing costs, higher inflation. Oh no, one thing's gone down, to be fair, growth. Make it make sense. Tusk, Kyiv to fight on for years. Ukraine is prepared to keep fighting Russia for 2 or 3 years, but worries about the war dragging on for a decade according to Poland's Prime Minister, and cannabis wrecking teen brains. Take a listen to this. All I've had is strong coffee this morning. An aggressive cannabis lobby is fueling a dangerous complacency about the risk the drug poses to teenagers' mental health. Dr. Lade Smith, who is Britain's top psychiatrist, said young people were damaging their brains by smoking high-strength cannabis and risking psychotic episodes that could ruin their lives. Can I just say that I think that the consumption of marijuana is appalling. I think that it's a blight on our society. I think that it's incredibly unhealthy. I hate the smell of it. I go around on my little moped, and when I go past a van that's got an open window, I can smell the weed from meters away. I think it's disgusting. I detest marijuana, and I can't believe it's glamorized by podcasters and talk show hosts. Awful stuff. The Sun on Sunday. Virginia Giuffre shook with fear after night with Andrew, and Strictly Picture exclusive. Kissy Come Dancing. Strictly dancer Nikita Kuzmin secretly kisses celeb partner Amber Davies and cradles her head in a sign of what the show sources call sizzling chemistry. Well, let me talk to you about sizzling chemistry, because can I tell you who I've got sizzling chemistry with? The former Met detective, Peter Blexley. You and I possibly sizzle, do we not, Peter?
Without the snogging, yeah. I sincerely hope.
Listen, never say never. The night is young. We've all had a drink. Peter, it's brilliant to see you in the studio. There's only one story in town. It's the big story, and it's a man on the run, of course, a convicted sex attacker who entered the country illegally, should have been deported, and he's now at large. Where is he?
Hadushki Batu, exactly. Where is he? But wasn't it nice? Did you see the Metropolitan Police appeal yesterday?
I loved that.
Senior police officer, well, pretty please. Would you please just hand yourself in?
Show your better nature.
Really? I mean, honestly, where are the days of robust police officers who would get in front of the camera and say, "We're coming after you. We will get you. Yeah. It might be better if you come to us before we come to you." But oh no, the language these days is all so fluffy and flaky and...
It is. I mean, what does that message... What does it say about the culture of British policing at the moment in 2025? That message would go out to a convicted sex attacker going, please show us your better nature and turn yourself in.
It perfectly sums up the DEI kind of infusion that has happened in recent years. The wokeness, the fluffiness, the liberalisation, the kind of, what people would say, the progressive attitude, the progressive agenda that's been driven into so many of our public services. Yeah. And what good has it done us?
Yeah, made us poorer and provably less safe, as we've seen in this case. I mean, in all of your years, have you witnessed such incompetence that a convicted sex attacker on his way to being deported walks free, tries to go back to prison 3 or 4 times and is turned away by prison guards? I mean, have you ever heard of anything like this in your life?
Not as dramatic and as appalling as this, but the prison service are releasing 4 or 5 people a week that they shouldn't be. Right. There's 250 a year.
And they're not dodgy accountants or fraudsters. Some of these people are dangerous criminals.
Well, of course, then couple that with Shabana Mahmood's efforts when she was Justice Secretary, which are now going to be continued as she is Home Secretary, for early release of prisoners. Yeah. And what are we doing? Putting dangerous people out onto the streets of Britain deliberately doing it. And then, of course, we couple that with what are we up to now? About 39,000 who have come in on boats. Mm-hmm. And Kabatu, actually, this weekend, for me, rather irritatingly, has been a distraction from the massive story on Friday, which is so relevant and so important to this whole immigration issue. Deng Majek on Friday was convicted of murdering the gorgeous Rhiannon White.
She was stabbed 23 times with a screwdriver.
11 times in the head. And she worked in a hotel where Majek was one of many migrants kept in this hotel. Migrants, forgive my language, illegal immigrants.
No, can I correct you there? And I might have to cancel you, because I've been listening to the BBC and they are refugees, Peter. They are asylum seekers coming from a war-torn country.
If they're coming from a war...
Please check your privilege.
If they're coming from a war-torn country, why don't they pick a side? If there's a civil war there, pick a side. Fight for what you believe is right instead of choosing dishonour before death,
Take up
which
arms.
is what they do.
Take up arms to protect your community.
If there's a civil war in Britain, I'm going to be picking a side. Even at my advanced years, I might only be fit for carrying boxes of ammunition, but I'm going to do my bit.
Peter, can I be on your side?
Please do, please do.
Peter's got your back. Let me tell you that we are so angry about what's a massive lapse here on the part of the prison service, prison guards, a convicted sex attacker who has destroyed the life of a 14-year-old girl, someone that shouldn't have been here in the first place. If that doesn't paint a picture of broken Britain, then I don't know what does. Your reaction, how are we going to fix this country? And what do we do with illegal immigration? What is your solution, folks? Because Nigel Farage thinks he's got the answer. Kemi Badenoch thinks he's got the answer. Keir Starmer reckoned he had the answer. He's changed his mind. He hasn't smashed the gangs. But the bottom line is, what is your solution to this problem? How do we fix it? 0344 499 1000. More front pages next.
First of all, I'd like to start with, obviously, my heart and everything goes out to the family, a wonderful family, and the other victims of this guy. We know what he's capable of. We know what he's done. It's been proven. My heart goes out to them. This country is broken. This country is in such a mess. And just when you think it can't get any worse, this happens. And, you know, this is such a high-profile case that we all know about it. How many other cases are happening that we don't know about?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Lots of stories to get through. Of course, a convicted sex attacker is still on the run. And according to Sky News, the man has been spotted in Hackney on Friday night. Will we ever find this man, Peter Blexley?
Yes, undoubtedly. Yes, of course. But what is surprising and we heard this from the Met Police last night when they gave their update, is they believe he is being assisted. You see, going on the run as a single person on your own is very, very challenging.
Yeah.
It's less difficult if you've got a network. And by that, I mean someone who's going to feed you, clothe you, put a roof over your head, transport you around, put cash in your pocket, and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And it would appear that he is already getting some assistance. The question is, do these people know that he is a convicted predatory paedophile who should be behind bars, in which case they are committing a very serious offence? If they do know that, or have they unwittingly been approached by a man claiming he's in need of some kind of charitable help, and people are helping him not actually knowing what he's wanted for and what the full situation is?
He could be on the street begging and people are handing him cash.
Exactly. He could have approached somebody. He could have said, "Look, I'm destitute. I'm homeless. Can you please help me?"
By the way, we can only dream. We can only dream
know.
that his English is that good, can't we?
Well, yes, indeed. I mean, we really don't know. And of course, what we in the media need to remind ourselves is that there's quite a lot of people that do not watch the news, and do not absorb it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
We all think because we're in it and it's our business every day, and we're papers and telly and radio and all of that, that everybody must be tuning in. But some people just simply don't.
No, it's not like perhaps in the 80s when, 15 million people were watching Crime Watch and 10 million people were watching the nightly news. It's all got very dissipated, hasn't it?
It has.
And so, what will the police be doing as we speak to find this man? What is underway by way of a process?
Trying to shorten that imaginary piece of string between him and the police. One concerning thing last night was that the latest sighting and the CCTV images that were released were from 8 p.m. on Friday.
Yeah.
So last night when they released them, they were about 25 hours old. So in fact, that piece of string had lengthened between the time they knew he'd got on the train on Friday and yes, last night.
Yeah, it's a deep concern, isn't it? How dangerous is this man, would you say?
He's a filthy, horrible, predatory paedophile. He's sexually assaulted a 14-year-old child as well as a grown woman.
Yeah, a grown woman who was trying to help him with his CV.
Yes, so I think that tells us an awful lot about this man. He is clearly a danger. He is clearly somebody who cannot control his urges and consequent actions. So he is very much a danger.
And he may be unhinged. He may have a personality disorder. He could be insane, couldn't he?
Possibly. I simply don't know.
Either he's a sort of cold, calculated criminal or he's a nutter. Either way, we've got a problem.
Well, he's committed a sexual offence against a child. Now, I have the great pleasure to be married to my astonishing wife, who spent the bulk of her glittering 32-year police career catching paedophiles. And she will tell you, if you ever have the pleasure of having a cup of tea with her, that they cannot be rehabilitated. There's academics that say, of course they can. And there's fluffy, flaky, wokey liberals that'll tell you, give them a chance, they can be rehabilitated. My wife, in all her experience of spending years upon years of locking them up, will tell you they can't.
Oh, the left, some of the left are so pathologically mad that they want to describe paedophiles as minor attracted adults. Do you know about this? A campaign in the 80s?
Yes.
Including, a campaign that featured figures in the Labour Party that became cabinet ministers, like Harriet Harman, pushing for more understanding of paedophilia and the characterisation of these folks as minor attracted adults. This is the same mentality that says that, if you're a man with a full meat and two veg, actually you're a lady.
Yes, indeed. I mean, some people simply are beyond help, aren't they?
Yeah.
They really are. It's utterly ludicrous. But yet again, blame the progressives. And I've seen the word progressive featuring again in the papers this weekend. It seems like people are obsessed with it. They feel they've got to move something forward. They've got to change it.
Yeah.
And of course, change is not always a good thing. Look where we're at as a society. Look where we're at as a nation. Look where change to the prison service has got us. Look where change to policing has got us.
Well, yeah, I think progressive is actually regressive. And it's, like I said earlier, it's making us poorer and it's making us less safe. Speaking of poorer, by the way, Rachel Reeves is plotting a mansion tax raid on homes. Peter, if someone's lucky enough to be in a house worth £2 million, why shouldn't they pay a bit more tax?
I would suspect if they are fortunate enough to live in such a beautiful and expensive home, they have worked very hard to achieve that. They've probably been well paid because they're incredibly talented. They might run a business and employ lots of people who pay their taxes and have a good life as a result of that. So in fact, they will have been taxed many, many times, possibly income tax, corporation tax, capital gains tax, you name it. So why tax them again?
Indeed. I mean, the issue you've got is the messaging towards people that are wealth creators in this country, which is essentially we're going to take anything that you achieve and we're going to squander it on a very bloated welfare state. And that messaging doesn't play out well because these folk are mobile, aren't they? They'll sell up and they'll move out.
Well, let's talk about mobile and mobility, if we may. Yeah. Because, of course, the left love to trawl that expression that they want to increase social mobility. Actually, that's a code for making everybody as equally skint as each other. That's what they mean by that. It's not about raising people up. It's not about making people better, giving them a better standard of living, better careers, better incomes. It's just utter hogwash. And while I'm on that, take a look at Sadiq Khan, for example, if I may. Sorry to ruin everybody's Sunday morning.
Yeah. Please don't swear on the radio.
He has done his very best to decimate and destroy the black cab industry. You know, the black cab, that icon of London.
They are the heroes of the capital.
Known around the world. And to do the knowledge, to get your green badge around your neck, took many of them years. And you really have to know your stuff.
Years and a lot of expense. And they pay a fortune for the cab as well.
Yes, they do indeed. But what has Khan done? You know, a real rampant left-wing mayor. What's he trying to do? Destroy the black cab industry. And so many cabbies of a generation that is now fading away, sadly, were born and raised in very, very challenging circumstances, born into impoverished circumstances. And how did they raise themselves up out of that? By doing the knowledge, working very hard to do that, getting a green badge and earning a decent living, which enabled them to move out of central London, go to the suburbs, buy themselves a nice semi-detached house, which they might even be able to extend, have a nice car on the driveway, put nice clothes on the back of their kids, and have a foreign holiday each year. Yeah. And yet a left-wing mayor like Khan has done everything he possibly can to try and destroy the black cab industry of London. When Labour says doing things, raising people up, social mobility, don't believe a word.
Don't believe a word. Listen, folks, a lot more to come. Don't forget Tommy Cannon live on the show at 9:30, talking about his incredible career and our victorious campaign to get ITV to recognise the genius of Cannon and Ball. And at 8 a.m, it is Dolan's Dispatch. I'm talking about Broken Britain. I'm not pulling my punches. It might get me cancelled. Good. Lots more to come. Tomorrow's front page is next.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Dean, do you want to take a call this hour or not? What do you think? I've got to say that I'm delighted to say our executive producer, Dean Spencer, has had some sleep. But he's loving the extra hour, by the way. Did you guys forget that the clock's shifted? It's great news, isn't it? I never remember whether it goes forward or backwards, but another hour. And listen, let me tell you, we've got a massive, massive show today. Tommy Cannon coming up at 9:30 and today's Dolan's Dispatch. A very good head-to-head panel for all the big political stories of the day. And more importantly, your calls and texts, 0344 499 1000. Dan in Kent, good morning, Mark. I'm definitely on Peter Blexley's side. When we go to civil war, which is inevitable, we need an election to save the country. Dan, I completely agree with you. We do need an election. Can you imagine what state the country is going to be in 3.5 years' time? Unfortunately, I don't agree with Nigel Farage. I don't think there will be an early election because turkeys do not vote for Christmas. Angie in Gloucestershire. Hi, Mark and Peter, my favourite duo. How about that? See,
Very
Peter,
nice.
I told you we had chemistry.
Thank you.
Would you consider partnering with me as the co-host of Strictly Come Dancing?
Yes, certainly.
I'll hopefully, right, without speaking out of turn, I'll be the funny one like Claudia, you be the pretty one like Tess.
That'll be a bit of a stretch, won't it?
No,
But
you're the eye candy, baby.
I've heard plastic surgeons can work miracles these days.
Listen, your body's a temple. I wouldn't change a thing, Peter. This from Angie. Hi, Mark and Peter. I read that Kabatu, the man that's on the run, was given cash by prison guards, but also tried to get a lady that he approached to pay for his train fare. Yes, Peter, great point about people who live without seeing the news, by the way. I know a couple, and I can't fathom it, but they do live in a bubble. Keep up the good work. That said, Peter Blexley, you're right about some people don't watch the news or listen to it. Are they not the ones that enjoy the best mental health?
Quite possibly. I think there is an argument for living that life. Say, for example, you're fortunate enough to live in a place that's not been blighted by the demise of the high street, rampant immigration, dangerous people who shouldn't be in this country walking the streets and the such like. Then it's quite possible, I think, that you might go and tend to the allotment, for example, on an almost daily basis.
Yeah.
I mean, what a lovely thing to be able to do. And the such like, and you may not tune into the radio. Imagine if you've got a really fulfilling relationship with another person and the pair of you are happy together and you do things that you like together. Maybe you walk, maybe you garden, maybe you do all of those kind of things. And you are secure in that bubble of not wanting to know what's going on in the wider world. I wouldn't blame anybody for that.
No, although that said, things are getting so bad in this country that even if you don't watch the news, it will eventually become so apparent that things aren't working, such as the terrifying mob in East London yesterday who have been having a kind of civil war with UKIP campaigners. So you've got UKIP wanting to have a demonstration in East London to, in inverted commas, take back their city.
Yeah.
And then you've got masked young Muslim men on the streets of East London saying, no, this is our territory now. I mean, this is civil war. This is a cultural battle that's playing out, isn't it? And that's something that even if you don't watch the news, you can't ignore.
I think we're more likely to be headed for a holy war, to be perfectly frank with you, rather than a civil war. And the rise of fundamental Islamism really, really terrifies me. I think it's on the march. Let's rewind to the first census after I was born, 1961. 21,000 people in the UK identified as being Muslim. Fast forward to today, we've got about 4 million. That's a huge rise in people following the faith of Islam in my lifetime.
4 million in the whole of the UK?
Yeah.
And that's as compared to around 350,000 Jews?
Yeah. Indeed, absolutely, yeah. Could completely swamp them in numbers terms.
My brilliant tech op said there are 3.5 million people in Wales. So it's approaching the population the size of Wales.
What an interesting stat. Very, very interesting and brilliant stat. So people are understandably concerned about the rise of Islam. And they're entirely justified in that. And you really don't have to search social media too far to find people, imams, other radical Islamists, talking about we're not here to integrate, we're here to take over. You can find this stuff on my feed if you wanted to have a look.
It's not a conspiracy theory, is it? These are speeches in mosques across the country.
They are, and also on the streets. When you look at these masked men yesterday with their hoods pulled over their foreheads.
In East London.
Yeah.
What did you? Are you a Londoner yourself?
I'm South East London.
Yeah. So what do you make as a natural-born Cockney to see scenes like that in East London of hooded Muslim men essentially saying this is our town now?
Well, I went to Derby versus Queen's Park Rangers yesterday afternoon to watch my beloved QBR, and if we'd all rocked up at Pride Park with our face covered with black masks and hoodies pulled down over our foreheads, I wonder what kind of reception the police and the stewards would have given us.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the issue, isn't it? That said, your remarks there about Islam, are you not painting everyone with the same brush? I mean, we've got, you got neighbours, you got friends, listeners and viewers to this show who are British Muslims, who work hard, pay their taxes, and are a big part of the success of this country. So is there a danger of tarring everyone with the same brush?
I said the rise of fundamental Islam, the extremists that really deeply concern me, and I believe millions of other right-thinking people in the UK. I will probably go to the Sagor restaurant at the top of my road this week, okay, where the Bangladeshi Muslim boys churn out some of the most amazing food I've ever had the pleasure to eat. The man who started that restaurant came to the UK 40 years ago, worked his socks off, developed it, extended it, redeveloped it, and just made a wonderful restaurant which is a fabulous resource for our community. His son now runs it with the other Muslim lads there that work there. And I say to them, as I'm either collecting my takeaway or paying my bill, I've had these exact conversations, and I say, what do I say to my friends who are concerned about the rise of fundamental Islam? And they say to me, Peter, my dad came here 40 years ago, made a great life, raised us, gave us a good life as a result of it. He said, I don't want to change anything about the UK. He said, and I'm as concerned about that lot as you are. And by that lot, he means the fundamental
the issue is, though, are the sort of, are mainstream British Muslims, moderate British Muslims, too silent on the issue of radical Islam? Do they not do enough to call it out?
Or, as I ask the very, very uncomfortable question, if there comes a day of reckoning, whose side are they going to be on? Will they feel that their faith draws them towards the radicals, the violent, the fundamentalists? Or will they go, I want to keep this restaurant as it was, I'm going to pick the other side? Let's remember, the Home Secretary said that her faith, Islam, is the most important thing to her.
Well, that's right. I mean, it would be odd, wouldn't it, if I said I'm a Roman Catholic first and British second, right? That would be an unusual and odd thing to say, because my nationality defines me primarily. I'm a British Roman Catholic. But plenty of people say I'm a Muslim first and a Brit second, if they say I'm a Brit at all.
Indeed.
So where do we go from here? How do we solve this? I mean, how do we, the multicultural society is in crisis. It's not working. You've got radical Islam, and you've got other pockets of resistance as well, extremists on the left and on the right. A very disordered society that we've now got. How do we fix it, Peter?
If I am to be convinced that we are not rushing headlong, regrettably and tragically, towards a holy war, then I want to hear millions of those 4 million Muslim voices standing up and saying they do not represent us. We do not agree with what they say. We are here to integrate. We are not here to take over. And moreover, I want to see actions, not just words. Look at huge swathes of our inner cities that are completely or almost exclusively populated by people who follow that faith and have come to the UK from abroad and who are not integrated.
And it can be a very exclusionary faith, can't it?
It appears to be so to me. It really does. So where are the moderate voices? Can we hear them? Are they giving interviews? Are they being seen? Are they being heard? Are they standing up? Are they challenging those radical, dangerous, fundamentalist voices? Are they calling them out? Are they reporting them to the authorities? Are they going on social media and in the mainstream media and denouncing them? I don't see them, I don't hear them.
Peter Blexley, I've got some good news for you and my army of viewers and listeners on Talk Breakfast. How about this for a headline? An outbreak of common sense, it won't last. Work to be prescribed for anxious and depressed patients to tackle the cost of benefits. That therapists will tell anxious and depressed Brits that work is good for their mental health in a fresh bid to end Britain's sick note culture. Medical professionals are being urged to effectively prescribe having a job as a form of treatment amid concern over the soaring sickness benefits bill. Praise the Lord.
Let's rewind 40 minutes, Mr. Dolan, when you, as part of your opening speech, asked the question, why work hard? They must have been listening to you.
I hope so.
Of course, working hard is good for self-pride. Of course it's good for mental health. Yeah. And it's also good for the pocket. Of course, it's vital. It's crucial. If you can work, do work. It gives you such a lift in so many ways. And please don't think that I've always spent my career in studios and such like.
Correct.
I've done some very, very grubby work. And when I was recovering from mental health breakdown, you know, I've washed windows, I've hoovered floors, I've put out the rubbish, I've done many, many things, and each and every time I did that, step by step, it made me feel better.
You've spoken very movingly and very openly about some major mental health issues that you've had in the past. I think it's fair to say, Peter, that you pretty much had a complete breakdown, didn't you?
Yeah, oh, completely.
And how important was work as part of your road to recovery?
It was, alongside the love of my family and the meds that work, formed a brilliant part.
And the Bangladeshi takeaway.
A combination which has got me to where I have been for many, many years. Yeah. Work is so good for the soul and the pocket.
And so what we need to do is we need to incentivise work. It's got to be more profitable to work, even in a low-paid job, than to take benefits.
Of course.
That's got to be the red line for government policy.
Yes, without a doubt. Wasn't it Churchill that said that the social security system should be a bar beneath which everybody could rise but nobody should fall, or words to that effect? Yeah. Now it's become a lifestyle. And there are people sitting on their sofas all day in their urine-stained jogging bottoms doing nothing other than watching daytime television. Get off your backsides and work. Well, scrub up first and work. I know it's difficult. We've got twice as many job vacancies at the moment. Twice as many people out of work as we have job vacancies. But then start with volunteering. Volunteering is so often a gateway into employment, and it makes you feel better.
Indeed, and there are still 1 million job vacancies out there, so let's get that filled as a starting point and see where we go from there. What is it? Work makes you free. I think that's what Nietzsche said, and he's absolutely right, of course. God bless him. What's he up to these days? Listen, folks, are this governing Labour Party, is Keir Starmer, are the Labour government about to become even more left-wing? That's next.
Phil, what do you make of what David Lammy said there?
Well, I find it slightly baffling because he talks about inheriting a broken prison system, which is fine. We know that. We have realised that the prison system is broken for a long time. But it's been over a year now that Labour have been in charge, so I don't think we can carry on too much longer blaming previous governments. But what I would say that slightly struck me more was the way that he said that we know that the previous government let prisoners out. Well, wasn't that exactly what Labour have done recently? They've let a whole load of prisoners
That's a fair point, isn't it, James?
Yeah, they have.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
So, a sex attacker still on the run, having entered the country illegally. What does this tell us about the parlous state of Britain's public sector and their failure to keep us safe? Derek is in Manchester. Good morning, Derek.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. First call of the show, and you're very welcome. Derek, what do you make of this story? What does it say about modern Britain?
Oh, well, that's an absolute joke. But what I was actually calling for was something you said earlier, which was how would you stop the migrants coming to the country? And it should be pretty obvious to anyone. I mean, someone with a secondary school education would be able to give the answer to that, let alone these so-called university-educated governments. You'd make it an offence to break into the country, which it should already be anyway, with a minimum of 12-month jail sentence. Once you've given that jail sentence, then there's no possible asylum claim if they enter the country illegally. You'd give them no legal aid, and if the lefty lawyers still want to look after them, then they'll do it for free if they're really that concerned about them. But they're not. They're concerned about the money they're getting out of the system. You'd put them in migrant camps guarded by the army. Forget the civil service guarding them. Put them in a migrant camp and guard them with the army until they're deported. You give them the meals only, no free money, nothing whatsoever, apart from the meals to keep them sustained. Once this happens, they won't want to come anymore. And also, with France, you rescind all fishing licences until France stops the boats, because I'm pretty sure their fishermen would be out stabbing dinghies every time they saw one in the channel. Simple.
Derek, you make an awful lot of sense. Why is there such a gap, Peter Blexley, between Derek's common sense and the policies of our governing party?
It is under Section 3 of the Immigration Act 1971, which is a law that is still in force. It's still on the statute book. It is an offence to enter the UK without leave to remain. So everyone on those dinghies are committing a criminal offence, Derek, that is already there. The law is already there, buddy.
So it's not being enforced.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I know the law's there. You know the law's there. We all know the law's there.
Yep.
Tell the government. But the top and bottom of it is, I personally think that the government has got an agenda. And let's have it right. With the majority they've got, if they were to turn around tomorrow and bring in a law to allow these people to vote in this country, there's not a thing we could do to stop them short of civil war. And I mean, what would happen then? Because we'd have them for another 4 years, another 4 years after that. And unfortunately, we become like China, a communist state.
Derek, we've already got amnesty by the back door, because the majority of illegal immigrants who enter the country are granted asylum. And I don't think anyone should be granted asylum that enters the country illegally.
No. If they've come here illegally, they shouldn't be. They've already broke the law. And the other thing is, you know, when you talk about asylums, you know, we're not all governments for the last 40, 50 years I can remember have done exactly the same thing, because even going back to, you know, I know a lot of you on that show are quite enamoured with Margaret Thatcher, but if you remember, she got in 1979 on a promise. I mean, she made a statement saying we'd rather be swamped by aliens. And the moment she, you know, the Sun did a massive spread saying, Maggie Thatcher's a racist. And of course, everyone wanted one, so they actually elected her on the strength of that. And the first thing she did, she got her Home Secretary, Michael Howard, to give an amnesty to 15,000 illegal immigrants. You know, so they've all done it.
Been going on
a
long time. I mean, it's those who govern us versus the people, Derek, isn't it?
It is, and the top and bottom of it is they seem to be forgetting that they work for us. But unfortunately, we've got a system where they're not held accountable. Anyone else in any other job in this country is held accountable for their actions. A policeman, if he makes a bad decision and shoots someone by accident, he's held accountable. He can lose his job, he can lose his house, he can go to jail. You know, just a common truck driver can go down the road, knock someone over by accident. Yet he could be jailed for that. You know, if he's not paying the proper attention at the time. Yet we've got a bunch of people that are supposedly got our best interests at heart, doing all sorts against our interests, possibly for backhanders, by the way. And you know, and they're not even held accountable. They can't even get sacked. We can't get rid of the people that are destroying this country.
Well, this is it. I mean, do you have any hope, Derek, for the future at the next election? Can Britain be fixed with the right Prime Minister, the right government?
Someone has got to come in and start holding politicians to account. We have to be able to say, and it doesn't matter whether we're electing them for 4 years, because if we see that they are destroying this country, we should be able to put an immediate stop to it right now and say, look, you lot, you're being held accountable. I mean, it's like the grooming gang, isn't it? You know, you've got so many. You mentioned Harriet Harman before, and Patricia Hewitt, and people like that.
Yeah.
You know, they should be held accountable.
Peddling sick ideas in the 80s.
Exactly. They should be held accountable for their actions. And people like Starmer, you know, best mates with Jimmy Savile all them years ago. You know, why aren't these people held accountable? Yet we're looking up to him to run the country. Come on.
I mean, obviously, Derek, best mates with Jimmy Savile might be a little bit harsh. I mean, he was Director of Public Prosecutions when Savile committed his crime. So I'll grant you there's a case to answer, but I'm not sure they were besties. But I take your point, Derek. I accept that. I mean, do you look at someone like Nigel Farage in UK and think that there's hope?
To be quite honest, I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure, but he's the best option we've got. Put it that way.
I mean, a lot of people are telling me on the show, Derek,
because he does tend to blow with the wind.
Yeah, what a lot of people have been telling me on the show, viewers and listeners, is that even if things get 10% better, reform will be worth it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll go with that. But I mean, the top of it is the other thing. Apart from holding politicians to account, we should be able to hold civil servants to account, because you've got people that have got jobs in this country that, frankly, don't deserve them. You know, it's far too bloated. You could lose an awful lot of civil servants, and the country would still run happily. I mean, what are we electing the government for if the civil servants are actually running the country?
Well, yeah, Derek,
electing a government, it's an illusion of democracy, isn't it?
Oh my God, what a line! Stay with us, Derek. An illusion of democracy. I couldn't have put it better myself, Peter Bexley.
The exasperation in Derek's voice is clear to hear, and I firmly believe is replicated the length and breadth of this once great nation. And he so clearly articulates what millions and millions of people are feeling and thinking. I take my hat off to you, Derek.
Yes, indeed. Derek, you're getting absolute plaudits here on the message board. Caller Derek talks utter common sense. It's the bureaucracy and red tape put in by government that stops the common sense. Mark and Peter, I wasn't in agreement with your most recent caller Derek until he got to the fishing licences. We need to close the door immediately, then deal with who is here. I bang on about fishing licences, but that's just about the only leverage we have. But our government won't do it. It's morally the only way. Stop the draw. Then the illegal migrants will stop crossing the EU and leaving a safe country to cross the channel. Like Derek says, the fishermen will be stabbing the boats. Derek, before you go, just in terms of illegal immigration and also the legal net migration, why do you think that recent governments have been so lax? Why have we opened the borders?
Well, I think it's divide and conquer. I mean, at the end of the day, while we're fighting amongst ourselves, you know, I mean, they've turned this country into basically, they brought people from every war zone on the planet to this country. Now, did someone suddenly expect them to all live in harmony? Because it was never, ever going to happen. And these so-called intelligent people that are running the country full well knew that all those years ago when they started it. They knew full well they weren't all going to get on together. And we can see it in our city centres now. You just said there last night, yesterday in London, masked men fighting with British citizens who were trying to claim the country back. You know, so it was obviously we're never going to get on. I mean, I've seen it in Manchester. We see sort of certain gangs, Eastern European gangs fighting with other Eastern European gangs. They're bringing their own civil wars to our country, and we've allowed it to happen, or our politicians have allowed it to happen, because as far as I remember, most people that I know of, certainly in my scope of friends and what have you, most people voted totally against any party that would have recommended that.
Listen, what a call, Derek. You really have kicked the show off in style. Please do call me again soon. Appreciate your company. Have a good Sunday. Derek in Manchester there, dropping a lot of truth bombs. And Derek, Peter Blexley, speaks for millions.
I've got a one-word answer to your question when you said about the politicians and why have they allowed it to happen. Cowardice. Absolute. None of them want to take on the progressives, the liberals, the left and all of that. And they are scared, terrified of being branded racist, for example. Because, of course, for the last 30 years, it's been the most dangerous career-ending slur that anybody can call you.
And yet there are clips of Hillary Clinton in the 90s saying illegals will be deported and a left-wing crowd cheering it. Why have attitudes changed so much?
Because it became a bandwagon to jump upon, didn't it? Look at our Foreign Secretary with refugees welcome signs and all those kind
Angela Merkel lets
nonsense.
$1 million in a year.
Yeah.
It's a brain rot, isn't it? A sort of a crazy ideology which has, you know, sunk into our bureaucracy in this country, our public institutions. And that's why it's a reasonable concern that even if there is political change in 3.5 years' time, it may be impossible to actually execute anything because of the pen pushers and the lanyard class who are going to say no, no, no.
And sadly, it's gone from brain rot to nation rot. Look at the state of us.
Yikes. Listen, what a line from Derek. The illusion of democracy. That's why the best bit of the show is your interaction, your messages and your calls. 0344 499 1000. Give Tommy a call. He'll put you on air and I'll catch you in the next hour. The paper's next.
Is it transphobic to say only women have a cervix?
Well, it is something that shouldn't be said. It is not right. A woman is an adult female, and the court has made that absolutely clear. I actually welcome the judgment because I think it gives real clarity. It allows those that have got to draw up guidance to be really clear about what that guidance should say. If you want to fight for Remain, vote Labour. Now, there are some who say we don't need Brexit to work. We need to reverse it. I couldn't disagree more. day after day, there are new allegations of sleaze, of favours, of privileged access. And it's all very well the Prime Minister saying, well, say now, well, I'm paying for it.
You've decided to repay £6,000 worth of gifts.
Lord Ali is facing an investigation. I wonder how concerned you are that your biggest donor was not fully transparent.
Are you saying you made a mistake?
It was right for me to make those repayments. Thank you. Of course, I wouldn't want Donald Trump round for dinner, but don't underestimate the danger to the world if Trump is re-elected this time around. I'm anti-Trump. I would like to send my warmest congratulations to President Trump on his inauguration as the 47th President of the United States.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
What time is it? Are we an hour ahead or an hour behind? Have I had more or less sleep? What's going on? Top of the morning to you. Happy Sunday, one and all. My clock here at Talk Towers says 8:03, but no, it is 7 in the morning and everyone's had an extra hour in bed. I hope you're feeling the benefit. 3 minutes past 7 and a very, very big 3 hours to come. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. Welcome to the home of common sense. An illegal migrant convicted of a sex attack on a 14-year-old girl is still on the run, having been released from jail accidentally. Will he ever be found? Where is he? Breaking this morning is news that this individual actually tried to return to prison and hand himself in 4 or 5 times, but guards turned him away. We'll give you full coverage of a story which has shocked a nation and which represents the terminal failure of our public institutions to keep us safe. Wouldn't it be something if we could find this disgusting human being whilst I'm on air? We've got 3 hours to catch this guy. I want to use the good offices of Talk Breakfast to help find him. So if you think you've spotted him, of course his face is all over the papers now, loads of footage online. If you think you've spotted this guy, give us a call, 0344 499 1000. We will pass your information on to the police. Will we not? Producer Dean, that's it. And you can text us as well, 0344 499 1000. It cannot be beyond the wit of man to find this guy, a very dangerous person that shouldn't have been in the country in the first place. Let's find him and let's get him deported. We can have a little deportation party, crack open a bottle of the bubbly and celebrate his return to his country of origin. Wouldn't that be nice? Imagine deporting foreign criminals. What a strange and revolutionary idea that is. Now, the failure of the authorities to keep us safe is the topic of today's Dolan's Dispatch at 8 a.m. You won't want to miss it. I'm not pulling my punches. Today's Dolan's Dispatch in an hour's time might get me cancelled. Good. Also this morning, it's the Labour Party about to take a dramatic shift leftwards. In a fresh political headache for Sir Keir Starmer, the ultra-woke Lucy Powell, who thinks concerns about the grooming gangs is dog whistle politics, well, she's now his deputy leader, his number 2. And already she's telling him to soften his position on immigration. Could a power struggle within the governing party of this country see Keir Starmer ultimately ousted from number 10? And I'm so excited about this. In a Talk Breakfast exclusive, a victory for our campaign to get ITV to recognise the genius of comedy double act Cannon and Ball. The incredible Tommy Cannon will join us live for a special extra long interview at 9:30, in which he'll be telling us about the highs and lows of fame, his deep friendship with the late Bobby Ball, and the release of his long-awaited life story. Comedy legend Tommy Cannon live on the show at 9:30. Don't miss it. Big names, big stories, big opinions. The Dolan's Dispatch. Tommy Cannon, top guest, so much to get through. And do you know what the icing on the cake is? Your opinions. So give me a call now, 0344 499 1000. I want you to join the conversation. Tommy's on the phones. He's taking your calls. You can send a text and the word talk to 87222. Send us a voice note as well. So much to get through. A big 3 hours. As the saying goes, let's talk. And we will kick off the hour with a look at today's front pages. Of course, it's the Sunday papers and the Mail on Sunday talking about Labour's shift leftwards. How about this? New class war bombshell. Chancellor's annual charge would punish hard work and aspiration. Rachel Reeves is plotting a mansion tax raid on homes. Chancellor Rachel Reeves is considering hitting homeowners with a new mansion tax costing thousands of pounds a year as part of a class war plan being considered for next month's budget. Under the proposals, the owners of properties worth £2 million and above would face a charge of 1% of the amount by which the property exceeds that value, meaning that owners of a £3 million property would face a bill of £10,000 every year. Now, here's the problem, which the left don't seem to understand. The wealth creators in this country pay for the NHS. They pay for policing. They pay for defence. They pay for the streetlights. They keep this country going. They pay the vast amount of tax. I am not one of these super rich people. But if I was Prime Minister, and we can only dream, I would love bomb the rich, because it is the tax receipts from rich people that pay for the public services upon which we are so reliant. But the left don't understand that. They want to make everyone poorer. And what you're going to see with policies like this and messaging like this towards the wealth creators is, you're not welcome here. You're a bad person. We will demonise you. And do you know what they're going to do? Because they've got yachts, haven't they? They've got Rolls Royces. They've got air miles. They will leave. And do you know something? They already are. Rachel from Accounts has scared off 16,000 millionaires this year alone. And what they don't seem to understand, the politicians that run the country, who are as thick as mints and blinded by leftist ideology, they don't understand that when the rich people leave Britain, we, you and I, have to pick up the tab. We have to cover the tax income that they used to pay. Make it make sense. Sunday Express, 90% of councils to house migrants by the end of the year. I mean, seriously. What the actual... Let me give you details on this. An exclusive by Michael Knowles, the Home Affairs editor of the Sunday Express. More than 90% of councils will be housing asylum seekers by the end of this year. Unemployed male migrants will be living at taxpayers' expense in communities across the country, as Home Office documents detailed how many could be moved into each region. 90% of the councils of this country accommodating people that have entered Britain illegally. Meanwhile, hard-working Brits, families, cannot get on the housing ladder, but migrants come in on a dinghy and it's a roof over your head, it's a GP appointment, it's top-level dentistry, it's pocket money, and it's a mobile phone. Almost 40,000 people are set to be given taxpayer-funded homes in London, the east of England, southeast England and southwest England as ministers ramp up efforts to close migrant hotels. And I've always thought that the debate around migrant hotels is a red herring, because yes, they're disgraceful. It's really bad for the safety of women and children, with bored young men staring at girls and hanging around primary schools and all the rest. So we know that. We know the impact on communities of losing a much-loved hotel where people got married, had christenings and funerals and all the rest of it, work dues. Of course the migrant hotels are a disgrace, but an excessive focus on it ignores the elephant in the room, which is that they're going to live somewhere else. They will still have pocket money. They will still be bored all day long. They will still have a mobile phone, and they will still be at liberty to wander the streets. So this really is deck chairs on the Titanic, if you ask me. The Sunday Telegraph, Starmer told to bin workers' rights. Labour's workers' rights bill risks crippling the jobs market. The party's favourite think tank has warned in a fresh challenge to Sir Keir Starmer. The Resolution Foundation have told the Telegraph it will come out against plans championed by Angela Rayner, the former Deputy PM, to give workers a day one right against unfair dismissal. It said the policy risked blighting the job prospects of millions of people whilst offering little obvious gain to workers. So can we just process this for a second? This is an incredibly left-wing socialist policy that everyone said would destroy jobs, destroy investment and make us poorer. And Labour have continued to do it because of, they are as thick as mints and they are blinded by leftist ideology. Well, even their own side, their favourite left-wing think tank, have said that the workers' rights package doesn't help workers and it will obliterate the economy and destroy jobs. You couldn't make it up. Meanwhile, The Observer run another story about Virginia Giuffre, of course, the woman, late Virginia Giuffre, who is so tied up in the Prince Andrew scandal. She is his late sex abuse alleged victim. The Sun on Sunday now, also on that story of Prince Andrew, Virginia Giuffre shook with fear after night with Andrew. Is he now negotiating an exit from the Royal Lodge with the King? I'll be asking Charlotte Griffiths very shortly, the editor-at-large at the Mail on Sunday newspaper. Strictly Picture exclusive, Kissy Come Dancing. It's two participants of Strictly who are looking like they're rather amorous. I mean, how many marriages have been destroyed by that show? Quite serious, because, I get the occasional invitation, to do these reality shows, and I don't know what Mrs. Dolan would think if I turned up on the set of Strictly. It would be very embarrassing and could be very personally challenging. These two people, I've never heard of them, I'll be honest. Strictly dancer Nikita Kuzmin and celeb partner Amber Davies. Anyway, I wish them every happiness together. They're going to do the foxtrot. The Daily Star Sunday, privates on parade. The number of troops accused of being flashers or peeping toms has soared by 300% in the last year. It's the latest sex scandal to rock the British Armed Forces. Sometimes a story just leaves you speechless. I really don't know where to go with that one, except that if there's a war, I fear we're going to lose. That said, you could just moon to the enemy, couldn't you? The Sunday Mirror now, celeb traitors exclusive. Stephen Fry nearly died after cocaine binge. Comedian Ben Elton reveals hospital dash in cab during the 90s. Someone that will never die in a cocaine binge is the very clean-living Peter Blexley, former Met detective. Peter, great to see you this morning. Can I ask you, where is this man? Okay, a convicted sex attacker who has destroyed the life of a 14-year-old girl in Epping. Where do you think he is now?
Well, I know we have the news bulletins upon which we rely, but at the top of the hour, I checked my phone as well, because back in the day, 6 a.m. in the morning was one of my favourite times for smashing people's front doors off their hinges, sometimes pointing my Smith & Wesson Model 38 revolver at them and getting them out of bed and putting them in handcuffs. Sadly, that hasn't happened this morning with Mr. Kabatu. I wish it had. Come on, Met Police, raise your game. Where is he?
Can you tell me, by the way, about the adrenaline of making an arrest like that, a dawn raid? Can you tell me what your emotions are, what's going through your head as you get out of your cop car and you approach the property? What are you thinking? What are you feeling?
Don't die.
Right.
Okay? Especially if I've got a gun.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so safety is paramount. We were less, shall we say, constrained by the restrictions of health and safety.
There wasn't going to be an immediate investigation when you take down a bad guy.
Oh, well, of course, I come from that delicious generation of detectives, and my colleagues at the flying squad used to shoot armed robbers dead with some regularity. And funnily enough, it put pays to a lot of armed robbery.
And you wouldn't find yourself in court or sacked off the back of it?
No, occasionally, people, of course, there was scrutiny, and that's absolutely right. But back in the day in the 80s, that wasn't happening. But it was only...
Funny how there was less crime then as well.
Yes, but of course what happened was the armed robbers then who were getting shot, or the ones who weren't getting shot, decided that going to work and dying probably wasn't worth it, so they morphed into the illegal drugs industry.
Right.
And we all know where we're at today with that, and that's a completely different story.
Yeah.
But yes, great fun nicking people, slapping the handcuffs on, taking them down the police station, but as I often used to say, arresting people is the easy bit, right? Even uniformed officers can do that. Sorry, uniformed officers, it was just a gag from an old sweat detective, all right? Yeah, I love you, okay? But the difficult part is convicting people.
Yeah, because of gathering
detective.
evidence.
Gathering the evidence.
You've got to really dot your I's and cross your T's, haven't you?
Putting it together, getting it to the what was then the Metropolitan Police solicitors and then barristers, and convincing a jury of someone's guilt.
Do you miss the adrenaline of that work?
Oh, I miss my warrant card. Yeah. Oh, by crikey.
And the Smith & Wesson as well.
When I'm walking around the streets, when I see people leaping over barriers because they're not paying their fares, when I see shoplifting, when I see the outrages on social media, I can often go on there and say, sometimes I miss my warrant card.
Most definitely. Well, listen, what you're doing now is laying down the law here at Talk, the home of common sense, and we've got some very big stories to come. First of all, could this guy remain at large for the rest of his life? Is he now going to disappear into the multicultural utopia that is London? Where is this guy? And also, more front pages, a fresh new headache for the Prime Minister, and how do you solve a problem like Prince Andrew? All of that to come.
Britain is broken.
Jamie, I couldn't have put it better myself. And you know what? It shows that they don't care. I think the government showed you that they don't care when they used the Home Office to overturn your ruling to say that those illegal immigrants need to get out of that hotel in Epping. And now this is just another go at the people of Epping who just want safety. They genuinely just want the basic human right of being able to walk the streets at night. And now they can't even do this.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
I think we need a new item on the show on Talk Breakfast called You Couldn't Make It Up. Right? Shall we do that, Dean Spencer? You couldn't make it up. A convicted sex offender who attacks a 14-year-old girl. He's on the run, entered the country illegally, tries to go back to prison 5 times. The prison guards say, no, we don't want you here. Go and get a train to London. Obviously, you couldn't make it up. But how about this in the Sunday Telegraph today? Starmer told to bin workers' rights by a left-wing think tank. Right? This is honestly beyond belief. Labour's workers' rights bill risks crippling the jobs market, according to the party's favourite left-wing think tank. The Resolution Foundation has told the Telegraph it will come out against plans championed by Angela Rayner, the former Deputy PM, to give workers a day-one right against unfair dismissal. It said that the policy risked blighting the job prospects of millions of people while offering little obvious gain to workers. Well, Peter Blexley, in other news, the Pope's Catholic and bears relieve themselves in the woods.
Yes, they do indeed. And of course, this whole Workers' Bill rights was the brainchild of Angela Rayner.
The ginger growler.
Indeed. So I'm sure she's spitting feathers if she's reading the Telegraph this morning that the Resolution Foundation are criticising it.
And it's common sense, isn't it? If you make it harder for employers, they're going to employ less people.
This law, if it becomes law rather, is going to make it almost impossible for anyone to sack anybody. It's ludicrous. People underperform at work because they're lazy or they're useless and they have to be let go. You know, that's a
right, and
a fact of life.
What this contains within it is full right of unfair dismissal claims from day one.
Yes.
So it means if you come in, Dave in accounts, and he's late and he's incompetent and he gets all his figures wrong and he breaks the fax machine, do you still have those? They then fire him because he's useless. And then what you've got is 6 to 8 months of litigation, of tribunals. The issue is also, Peter, that companies will just settle, which means, because that's the point, with unfair dismissal claims, companies are very under-resourced. They haven't got time with HR departments to deal with this. So they'll normally write a cheque for 10 or 20 grand to make the problem go away. So what you're going to do is you'll have bad actors who will actually gerrymander and leverage the system of unfair dismissal for a quick profit.
Imagine the probationary police constable on their first day on the street, and at the very first sign of danger they run away. You'd probably guess that police is not for them, wouldn't you? Yeah. They would have the right to say, oh, I was unfairly dismissed because I'm a bit of a coward. Can't I join the cowardly squad? Funnily enough, they shouldn't exist in policing.
No, they shouldn't. And of course, the other issue is sick pay from day one and also mental health support from day one. And what that means, bereavement as well. So you start work in a factory, perhaps, you know, I don't know, assembling Ford motor cars or something, and you go, unfortunately, my great auntie Jean's just passed, so I know I've only been here a week, but I'm going to be off for 10 days now, and there's nothing employers can do about it. And this is, Peter Blexley, within an economy that's not growing, and with more unemployment and higher inflation, this doesn't end well.
I'm very sorry to hear about great Auntie Jean. When did you last see her? Oh, 1999. Oh, I see, and you need 10 days off for that, do you? Righto, yeah, they're going to swing the lead.
Make it make sense. Even great Auntie Jean's not happy about that. Paul is in Kent. Paul, a very interesting story this morning in the papers, and it's the fact that the government have been advised to prescribe work as a solution for mental health issues. What do you think about this?
Well, good morning, Mark and Peter. Morning. By the way, lovely show.
Thank you,
as
Paul.
Always. You know, I'm a recovering alcoholic and with multiple mental health issues as well. And I've been saying to my NHS staff, you know, mental health staff, that I believe that going back to work would be a benefit for me, and they're telling me not to go back because they don't think I'm ready.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah. You know, I've got to be honest, I am waiting for rehab or detox, one of the two.
Yeah.
But I'm being told not to go back to work by NHS staff.
Paul, how would work help you?
It will, because they say I suffer with anxiety and I'm diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. I need structure in my life, and I had no issue. And sorry, Peter, but I have been arrested a few times in the past. But it gives me, when I've lost my job, and relationship breakup, and I was homeless. It's because I didn't have structure in my life, and I believe going back to work would be a benefit to a lot of people.
Paul, I don't stand in judgment. You don't have to apologise to me, bud. What is important?
No, you did your job, and you've done it very well, by my opinion.
But what is important? Thank you. What is important is you've mentioned this crucial word twice. Structure. You want structure in your life to get you back on track. I wish you every bit of good luck with your recovery. I hope it lasts you for the rest of your lifetime. I hope you find employment, and well done for facing up to the problems that you've had and tackling them head on. Good man. Takes a brave person to do that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Paul, we wish you well. And listen, will you give us a call again soon and tell us how you're getting on?
I will do. Thank you very much, Mark.
Stay in touch with the show, and I'll be looking out for you. We've got your back, Paul. Thank you for your call and for your courage, actually, in sharing your story. And that is the point, is that you have a welfare system which is there if someone breaks their leg, they can't work, God forbid, they get cancer, they're hospitalised, that sort of thing. But we now have an incredibly expensive, bloated welfare state which has gone far beyond that.
5,000 people a day going on to benefits. Now, of course, this pathetic Labour government tried to bring in some welfare reform, and all the lunatic backbenchers wouldn't allow it, so they had to scrap that. Imagine if we could get this welfare bill down hugely, and we need to.
Well, even the Tories are suggesting £47 billion a year could be saved.
Yep, because there's people swinging the lead. You know what I would like to do with some of that money? Give the truly deserving a better deal. Make their lives more comfortable, easier and better. But in order to do that, we've got to get those who are swinging the lead, taking the mickey, lying on their sofas all day because they think that benefits is a lifestyle choice. We've got to get a grip of those lot.
Bad news for fans of the High Street, because Pizza Hut, which I think is quite a decent pizza chain, is to shut scores of restaurants at the expense of 1,200 jobs. Are you a fan of the Pizza Hut yourself, Peter Blexley?
I like pizza, and my favourite is Pizza Express, actually, if I'm going out for one. But they, of course, as a chain, have had their troubles as well. They've had to close restaurants in the past, slim down their operation. There seems to be a problem here with pizza retailers on the high street. There's a problem with so many of our beleaguered high streets. But what I will say is it comes as no surprise. If you go to the supermarket, you can buy an absolutely top-of-the-range, stuffed crust, laden with toppings, beautiful, magnificent pizza for, and I'm talking about at the high end here, in your supermarket, for £4.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's a meal in itself.
That's it.
It's a treat.
And you can get a pint can of Kronenberg for £1.
Exactly.
So, you know, how pubs and restaurants can compete is a hard one to answer. And this, of course, again, is the government's taxation policy, isn't it? For example, the national insurance tax rate on businesses, on employers, is affecting hospitality in particular. And what I find so bad about that is that it's a lot of young people that work in hospitality. It's often their first job when they graduate or leave school. And they're the group who are finding it hardest to get work.
And if it's their first job, here's a little hint and tip for you. If you learn to be charming and polite and courteous and give people a wonderful experience when they come into that pub or the restaurant or wherever it is you're working, you're quite likely to get a nice tip.
You are actually, or maybe a free pint. Peter, how do we save the high street, and why is it important? Why does it matter?
Investment. We have to encourage people to invest, and you don't do that by taxing businesses to the hilt. Business rates are ludicrous. The national insurance rate was just financial suicide. We need somebody in government who knows about business, will promote business, encourage it, and bring in the right legislation.
Peter, I just got a message in from someone called Great Auntie Jean. She's loving the show.
Bless her. I'm glad to hear she's fit and well.
She hasn't expired at all, and neither have you. Peter, come back and see us soon. We'd love to have your company. All that common sense, so articulate, so on point. My thanks to former Met Detective Peter Blexley. So much to come. Next up, Prince Andrew. Is he about to be evicted from the Royal Lodge? And more bad news for Meghan Markle. That's next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This show is all about opinions. I'll be speaking to a top Labour supporting figure before the end of the hour about Labour's shift leftwards, a big new political headache for Keir Starmer. His deputy is Lucy Powell, who's told him to go softer on immigration. So I'll be speaking to a guest who's going to defend this government very shortly. Can't wait for that. And don't forget, in a Talk Breakfast exclusive, our campaign to get ITV to recognise the genius of Cannon and Ball has been successful. They're now on the iPlayer, the equivalent of the ITV iPlayer, and Tommy Cannon joins us live on the show at 9:30 and today's Dolan's Dispatch at 8. You won't want to miss it. It's about Broken Britain. It's about a sex attacker on the run. You couldn't make it up. This is a very punchy monologue. It might get me cancelled. Good. That is Dolan's Dispatch at 8 a.m. Listen, lots to get through before then. How do you solve a problem like Prince Andrew? Is he about to be evicted from the 30-room Royal Lodge? Let's get the views of the editor-at-large of the Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths. Good morning, Charlotte.
Morning. Well done for calling it the Royal Lodge, because hardly anyone does that, including myself, actually. But apparently Andrew likes it to be called the Royal Lodge because it makes it sound a bit grander.
Well, that's right. One day I hope to live there when I get a pay rise from the boss. At the moment, the incumbent is Prince Andrew. First of all, Charlotte, how keen is he to stay? Why is he so seemingly attached to that particular accommodation?
Well, for one thing, and this is why you don't need a pay rise from the boss, it's free. He pays a peppercorn rent. He front-loaded the rent many years ago. He paid £1 million to move in and £7 million to upgrade it. Actually, for a 30-room lodge, he could be paying up to £1 million a year to rent it. So, for one thing, it just doesn't cost anything. So, and he has got an iron-tight. He says he's got an ironclad lease till 2078. And the other thing is, it's just so attached to his status. He really has nothing left once he leaves Royal Lodge. And he does want to be quite close to his daughters, who live relatively nearby in London and Oxfordshire. So that's why he's barricaded himself in. I mean, literally barricaded himself in. He just will not leave. But time is of the essence, because Prince William and Catherine and their kids are moving in the next 10 days to their new property, their forever home, Forest Lodge. And apparently they don't want to be bumping into Andrew as they go and walk the dogs down the lane. So there's an added pressure now on top of every other pressure, namely public pressure and even political pressure.
Well, indeed, and it's the optics of a disgraced prince living the high life in a 30-room sprawling mansion.
It's completely ill-fitted to his status. He's had his HRH stripped a long time ago. He's no longer the Duke of York. You know, the Queen Mother used to live in this house. It's incredibly grand inside.
Yeah.
Although I have to say, it's kind of gone to rack and ruin. You can tell from the outside. And sources say on the inside, there are a few rooms that are incredibly cluttered, and that there's a genuine worry about literally how to get him out, because it's going to be quite an operation. He's been there a really long time. It's absolutely full of stuff. And of course, where will it all go? Because if he downsizes, this is a problem that everyone has when they downsize. Where does all this stuff go? And Andrew's kind of refusing to move to a place that's smaller at the moment, such as Frogmore Cottage around the corner, because he still thinks he has this inflated sort of sense of himself and doesn't think it's worthy of him to live in Frogmore Cottage.
Yes, and if he does go to Frogmore, it'll need a deep clean, because the last residents were Harry and Meghan. Let's be honest with you, that's not ideal, is it? The bottom line is he's got to go somewhere. He remains the king's brother. What do you think is the best possible outcome for the king at this stage?
I think the best outcome for the king would be that he went to a different country altogether. There is an offer on the table from Abu Dhabi, from the Crown Prince there, MBZ, and he would live a palatial life in Abu Dhabi. You know, MBZ is going to give him a huge house if he accepts it. Plenty of cash. You know, I think the ideal outcome for the king is that somebody else takes on Andrew and Andrew becomes somebody else's problem. But apparently Andrew doesn't want to move to Abu Dhabi, so he's mulling it over. Obviously, he must be tempted by the cash and lavish lifestyle, but apparently he doesn't like the hot weather and he can't sweat, and he wants to be close to his daughters.
And also, there are no branches of Pizza Express in Abu Dhabi, which I know is a great source of pain to the king. It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because Sarah Ferguson, now just plain old Sarah Ferguson, not the Duchess of York, cohabits with Andrew in the Royal Lodge. Do you have a perception, Charlotte, that they are very much a package and that wherever Andrew goes, Fergie goes too?
I do have that perception. I think in Royal Lodge, what I've heard is that they kind of lived in different wings. So it's not like they were living as a romantic couple.
See, I quite like that with Mrs. Dolan. I think we'd get on a lot better if she was in a different wing of the house. That
It's
kitchen
always
gets very
dangerous to
crowded
have
in the
separate
morning. I
bedrooms,
can't lie. And I want the kettle, she wants the kettle. So what, the house is so big that they've got their own entire section.
And yeah, and I always heard that actually Beatrice had her own section for when she came to stay with her family. But I suppose it's the kind of house where if you had a spare bedroom, it would come with a couple of extra spare bedrooms and a kitchenette. I mean, it really is that lavish, that big. But I'm fascinated to know whether in the future, when Andrew moves, whether Fergie will go with him, because the reason partly Fergie lived with him was because she was very attached to Royal Lodge and the status. And, you know, they're not a romantic couple. If he was living in a tiny cottage, she may not wish to go with him, actually. But interestingly, she's just sold her Belgravia mansion for £4 million, although she sold it for less than its market value. So actually, she doesn't really have anywhere to go. So I wonder whether, I'm told that they're reinvesting that money in a different property. So I'm wondering where that will be.
Do you think Andrew, is he keeping his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson sweet because she knows where the bodies are buried? Does he have to be nice to her and make sure that she's accommodated in luxury so that she doesn't run off and write a book about him?
I absolutely do think that. But also, Fergie got him into a lot of this kind of trouble. I mean, what I was hearing back in the day was that when she went over to New York, having been disgraced over here, you know, with the toe sucking and all the the financial mess she got into over here in the UK decades ago, she went over to New York, where she was celebrated, thrown into high society circles, appearing on Oprah, etc., etc. And she then came into the orbit of Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein, who were also high up in the New York social circuit. So they're kind of intertwined from the very off with the Epstein saga. In fact, it could even be, and Ghislaine Maxwell has hinted at this, it could even be that it was Fergie who got Andrew wrapped up in Epstein in the first place, because Epstein sent an email to a French friend of his saying, I've been bankrolling her for 15 years. So it's kind of like Epstein was her sugar daddy, and she got access to Epstein because of her association with Prince Andrew. So the whole thing is murky and intertwined and obviously a mess.
Money's always been a problem for Fergie, who has always lived beyond her means, hasn't she? As of course, highlighted in Andrew Lowney's brilliant book about the Yorks, which, by the way, the interview on Talk has now gone viral. 1 million views on YouTube. If you want to check that out, just go to the Talk page over on YouTube. But so Fergie lives beyond her means. She's always skint. What about Andrew, Charlotte, sorry. Do we know how much money Andrew's got in the bank? How financially independent is he?
Well, people are always baffled because he is somehow financially independent. He does seem to have enough money. There were some reports that he inherited lots from the Queen, but in recent weeks that's kind of been rebuffed, and apparently he didn't inherit a huge fortune from the Queen, which is little wonder because she gave him £12 million to pay off Virginia Giuffre, and she gave him this sweet deal at Royal Lodge. So we do wonder in Fleet Street, I don't know about in your circles, but we're always thinking, well, there's got to be this Chinese thing. He must be getting money somehow through the Chinese links that he has. Obviously, we know the Epstein source of funding is dried up, but somehow he has enough money. And this is one of the reasons why he's always remained steadfastly in Royal Lodge, because he said, I can afford the upkeep. That's one of the deals of the lease. He has to spend a fortune on the upkeep every year. And Charles thought, I can flush him out because he'll never be able to afford the upkeep. But no, year after year, he does afford it. So he has got some private source of income. And now he does have access to this £4 million because they sold the Belgravia mansion.
What chance is there that we'll have a new letters patent and an act of parliament to formally strip him of his dukedom and his title Prince?
I think the mood music is that will happen, and it's all part of this bid to get him out of Royal Lodge, because an act of parliament associated with stripping him of his title, there will be surely an act of parliament to get him out of Royal Lodge. And, Charles has said to him, we can do this the easy way, you can fall on your sword, or we can do this the hard way. He's chosen the hard way. So I actually think it is likely. And I know the will in the royal family is behind it being an act of parliament. They're worried about wasting parliament's time, but the mood of the nation is go for it, do the act of parliament.
Charlotte, be afraid, be very afraid. Meghan Markle has a major announcement to make.
Well, she's done this kind of teaser video on her Instagram that something is coming on October the 28th. And what I'm told is it's actually an advert for her holiday special, the Christmas special of her show With Love Meghan. And it will be the last episode. It's not going to get renewed. But what I revealed last week in last Sunday's Mail on Sunday was that she's also doing a makeup range, or that's the rumour anyway. And there's lots of clues and hints that she might be doing makeup. The most important clue of which is that there's big money in makeup. There isn't a lot of money in selling pots of jam, it's got to be said, but makeup, the markup is huge. It's mostly, the cost is just mostly just packaging and powder. And then, if you're like Victoria Beckham, she charges £104 for her foundation. So what I'm told is that Meghan is definitely looking to pursue makeup as her next get rich quick scheme.
Yeah, she's a worse entrepreneur than Nick Leeson, isn't she?
She's not done well at all when it comes to making money. I mean, the wine isn't doing very well. The jams. The thing is about expensive jam is that you might buy it once and it comes in a nice big package, but are you going to buy it regularly? Once you've bought some Meghan jam once, you've done it. I mean, that's it. It's a kind of, you're just not going to do it again. Whereas with makeup, you do buy, if you find a product you really like, if you're a woman, you'll buy that mascara over and over again because it's the perfect mascara or the perfect foundation. But really, I think the novelty is worn off from that sort of moment, that sort of moment of hysteria that America had earlier in the year when they started buying all of Meghan's jams and pancake mixes. I mean, why not just go back to Tesco and get Bon Maman for half the price?
What a good idea. I might buy her Napa Valley Rosé wine, Charlotte, because that will help me to deal with the PTSD from watching With Love Meghan on Netflix. It's been great to see you on a Sunday morning. The editor at large of the Mail on Sunday, one of the finest journalists in the country, Charlotte Griffiths. Thank you, Charlotte. We'll speak soon. So much more to come. Are Labour about to become even more left-wing in government? There is a new deputy leader in Lucy Powell, who thinks that it's dog whistle politics to be concerned about the grooming gangs. We'll discuss a major new political headache for Keir Starmer next.
I would have absolutely no issue with this man being returned straight to Sudan to serve his sentence in Sudanese custody. Whether that's possible is another matter. And one of the issues we do have to watch in cases like this is ensuring someone is actually punished for their offence. Because what we wouldn't want to do is just someone commit a brutal murder, be thrown out of this country, and then find themselves walking around at home within weeks.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Dolan's dispatch in just 10 minutes' time. Today's monologue, Broken Britain, and an egregious failure on the part of the authorities to keep us safe. I'm not pulling my punches. It might get me cancelled today. Good. This from Kev in Shropshire. Dear Mark, I can't believe where everything is heading in this country. Everyone's on benefits, pubs and restaurants closing, digital ID, a big push to electric cars. It can only be universal basic income. Everyone's staying within a short distance from where they live, 5-minute cities, total control of the normal person, and the rich and powerful benefiting using climate change. It's ironic that the left are in favour of all of these things. Well, it is interesting, isn't it, that the left, the progressive left, have completely abandoned ordinary working class people. And that's why they were absolutely destroyed in America at the last election, with the Democratic Party flopping in most states and delivering a victory for Donald Trump, and why Labour are collapsing here in the UK. But listen, are they going to reboot with a brand new deputy leader in Lucy Powell, who has advised Keir Starmer to develop a more soft position on immigration, and she'd like more left-wing economic policies as well. Let's take a listen to the new deputy leader of the Labour Party talking about Nigel Farage.
Let's be honest, we've let Farage and his ilk run away with it. He wants to blame immigration for all the country's problems. We reject that. Our diagnosis is different, that for too long, the country and the economy has worked in the interests of the few, not the many. That trickle-down economics hasn't worked. Life has just got harder and harder, less and less secure, in work, in housing, in making ends meet. We say that the deep-seated inequalities that have widened in wealth, in regions, in class, in health, need fundamentally redressing. And that's what we're about, and that's what we're trying to fix. That's how we'll reunite our voter coalition and reunite the country.
Let's get reaction from a very good friend of mine, former Labour advisor James Matthewson. Top of the morning, James.
Good morning, Mark.
Good to see you on a Sunday. Listen, what do you think about the appointment of Lucy Powell, her successful election as the Labour Deputy Party leader? Is she going to make headaches and trouble for the PM?
Not that many. I really don't think there'll be that many for him. Look, she is still, she's not a left-wing choice. She wasn't, from any of the left factions in the party. Lucy Powell, for those of us who remember the Corbyn days, was a real thorn in the side for Jeremy Corbyn. She was like a very outspoken critic of much of the left faction of the Labour Party. So she's not traditionally of that tradition. But she's obviously kind of seen the political winds. She hears the dissatisfaction in the base, and she hears what members are saying, and she wants to try and represent that as a deputy leader. I would think there's more about personal ambition in it for her than there is actually about trying to do the right thing or the moral thing or represent the members. But it's a conversation that needs to happen, and the Labour Party has drifted away from what it's meant to support. And if she brings it back towards that, then people like myself will be more happy with that.
Will she be seeking revenge against Keir Starmer, who evicted her from the cabinet?
I don't think it'll be that personal, to be honest. Of course, people, kind of are bruised after things like that, but it's never. People have short memories in politics, or at least they like to pretend they do. Especially in the Labour Party, they're all pals, they're all chums. But at the first opportunity, they'll they'll stab each other in the back. It's always the way, isn't it? Politics is a blood sport.
Indeed. Pretty tone deaf, though, don't you think, in that speech to extol the virtues of large-scale mass immigration, given the challenges facing the country and the current anger about a convicted sex attacker who entered the country illegally, now on the run?
I don't think so, no, because what she's doing is representing the members of the Labour Party and the Labour Party base in what they think, people like myself, who, of course, I understand people's concerns about immigration, but at the same time, they want to push back on some of the rhetoric that we've heard around it. And whilst, you can talk about that being your primary thing that you're seeing in the newspapers, huge story, undoubtedly, Mark. It's a complete cock-up. It's horrific, ridiculous, and it's a huge loss for the government. However, also on the same headlines and same papers is Prince Andrew. Is he symbolic of the royal family and of white British people?
Yeah, listen.
Because he's accused of the same things.
If it was legally possible, I would put him on a deportation flight as well. I can agree with you on that one, James. But
where's he going? Back to Germany.
The issue you've got for Lucy Powell is that she's, making this messaging about immigration, which goes against where the British people are at, which is why Labour are doing so badly in the polls, and Keir Starmer is the most unpopular Prime Minister since records began. And this government needs to go the other way, doesn't it, to stop the boats and reduce legal net migration?
Disagree with you. I'm afraid that's not why they're where they are in the polls.
63% of the public think immigration is too high. Many of those will be Labour voters, James.
100%, but that's not necessarily why.
Are they a bunch of racists or something? Are they bigots?
Don't put words in my mouth, Mark. That doesn't work out well for us when you do that. But at the same time, the reason why people are not supporting the Labour Party is because they look at Keir Starmer and his leadership and realise that it doesn't stand for anything. There's no credibility. There's no backbone. There's no actual belief there at the centre of it. I was critical after the Corbyn era of us being too ideological, too, purist in our approach to things. That was a mistake at the time. But now we've gone the other way. Now we don't stand for anything in the Labour Party. I mean, I'm saying we. I'm not even a member anymore, and I wouldn't even vote for them if I was given the choice tomorrow. So, the problem is they don't have that credibility, and other political parties do increasingly, because if you're left-wing and you believe in all those values that you want to see a Labour Party represent, you would just go to Zach Polanski's Green Party now. Of course you would. Why wouldn't you? That's the sensible choice right now. That's what I would have to consider doing if there was an election tomorrow, even though I disagree with them on certain things. But if you're right wing or you're to the centre, to the right, you've got plenty of choice in Britain right now. But the rhetoric we're hearing from those people, the Labour Party needs to find its place, and it needs to remember what its roots are. Otherwise, it will just cease to exist, and it will become like the Tories, pointless.
Now, Talk Breakfast, James, has calculated that at current rates, in terms of illegal immigration, around 300,000 people will enter the country illegally in the course of this parliament, right? This is a governing party in the Labour Party that said they would smash the gangs. So 300,000 people, a third of a million in 5 years. And of course, in recent years, net migration has been almost 1 million people in a year. So when Lucy Powell says that Starmer should soften on migration, what would that look like?
I think it's more the rhetoric that I think she's talking about. Because you got a Labour Prime Minister stand up and saying we're an island of strangers a couple of months ago, and then he rolled back on it, didn't he? Because he doesn't believe it. Like, the thing is, at the end of the day, you get into politics because you believe in things, all right? And look, they're not going to be the things you agree with, Mark, because you're on a conservative news channel, right? This is not...
I wouldn't go that far. What we are is that we're the home of common sense, so we're not left or right.
I've heard the taglines many times, but at the same time, you're not on... With all due respect, talkTV is not the Labour-affiliated channel, is it, right? At the end of the day.
I'll tell you what we are. We are listener-affiliated and viewer-affiliated. And this conversation represents the concerns of my viewers and listeners about the direction of the country under your wonderful Labour Party, James.
Well, it's not my wonderful Labour Party anymore, Mark, I'm afraid. But your viewers and listeners rarely agree with me on anything, and that's fine. That's great that we need to have that discussion.
We do need to.
What the point is that I'm getting at here is that there needs to be choice in Britain. There needs to be plurality, okay? But what you should have at the core of that is a fundamental understanding of what the people you are voting for represent. Nigel Farage, right? You know what he represents. You know what his message is. It's clear, right? There's no kind of doubt about that. There's criticism about it from all sorts of quarters, including from myself. But you're not kind of uncertain about them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with
Yeah.
Keir Starmer, with the weather vane politicians who will blow in the wind whichever direction, that era of politics needs to come to an end. And unfortunately, they need to stand on their morals and their principles. And your viewers might not like it, but they've got plenty of other choices at the ballot box, and that's the important thing.
Now, James, there's an intelligent conversation to be had about how much immigration we should have in the country. Of course, that's one of the joys of Brexit. We decide who comes in and comes out. And no doubt, sort of targeted, high-quality immigration could be a tremendous positive for Britain. We can agree on that. Immigration can be fantastic.
It already is.
But,
it already is.
Well, with regards to the illegal boat crossings, Nigel Farage wants to stop the boats. What's wrong with that?
It's not that simple. That's what's wrong with it.
Well, if you could press a button and make sure that no boats were crossing illegally into the UK, would you press that button?
Politics is not the art of kind of hypothesis.
You don't want to end illegal immigration?
You know, hypothetical discussions, is it? At the end of the day, it's the art of what's possible.
It's an interesting question. If you could press a button and stop the boats, what would you though? If such a button was available?
Of course I would, because people die in those boats. I don't want people to die. So of course I would stop it. But you know, there is a button. There is a button, and it's called opening up legal and safe channels that have been shut down increasingly as we've created a hostile environment under 15 years of the Tories. And the Labour Party, unfortunately, seems to be continuing that legacy.
James, always a delight to have you on the show. Great to see you in rude health on a Sunday morning. We'll catch up very soon. James Mathewson, former Labour advisor. Do you agree? Your reaction, 0344 499 1000. Well, I'll be tackling a lot of big issues facing this country in today's Dolan's Dispatch. That's right. This is not a drill. The monologue is back. And this one is pretty punchy. I'm not pulling my punches at all. Today's Dolan's Dispatch might get me cancelled, right? It might get me cancelled. Good. That's next.
Is it transphobic to say only women have a cervix?
Well, it is something that shouldn't be said. It is not right. A woman is an adult female, and the court has made that absolutely clear. I actually welcome the judgment because I think it gives real clarity. It allows those that have got to draw up guidance to be really clear about what that guidance should say. If you want to fight for Remain, vote Labour. Now, there are some who say we don't need Brexit to work. We need to reverse it. I couldn't disagree more. Day after day, there are new allegations of sleaze, of favours, of privileged access. And it's all very well the Prime Minister saying, well, say now, well, I'm paying for it.
You've decided to repay £6,000 worth of gifts.
Lord Ali is facing an investigation. I wonder how concerned you are that your biggest donor was not fully transparent.
Are you saying you made a mistake?
It was right for me to make those repayments. Thank you. Of course, I wouldn't want Donald Trump round for dinner, but don't underestimate the danger to the world if Trump is re-elected this time around. I'm anti-Trump. I would like to send my warmest congratulations to President Trump on his inauguration as the 47th President of the United States.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, with an unexpected extra hour of sleep, I am coming in hot this morning. I'm Mark Dolan. This is Talk Breakfast. A very big 2 hours to come. That's right, it's not 9 a.m, it is 3 minutes past 8. Wakey, wakey, rise and shine. A very, very big set of topics that we're going to tackle today. An illegal migrant convicted of a sex attack on a 14-year-old girl is still on the run, having been released from jail accidentally. Will he ever be found? Breaking this morning is the news that this individual actually tried to return to prison 4 or 5 times, but guards turned him away. We'll give you full coverage of a story which has shocked a nation and which represents the terminal failure of our public institutions to keep us safe, which is the topic of today's Dolan's Dispatch. Also this morning, is the Labour Party about to take a dramatic shift leftwards? In a fresh political headache for Sir Keir Starmer, the ultra-woke Lucy Powell becomes his deputy leader, and already she's telling him to soften his position on migration. So, could a power struggle within the governing party of this country see Keir Starmer evicted from number 10? And in a Talk Breakfast exclusive, a victory for our campaign to get ITV to recognise the genius of comedy double act Cannon and Ball. The incredible Tommy Cannon will join us live for a special extra long interview at 9:30, in which he'll be telling us about the highs and lows of fame, his deep friendship with the late Bobby Ball, and the release of his incredible autobiography. Comedy legend Tommy Cannon live on the show at 9:30. Big stories, big guests, and it's all about your opinions. My challenge for the next 2 hours is to get your views on the national television and radio airwaves. My number is 03444991000. Tommy is on the phones. How do we fix our broken country? How do we tackle illegal immigration? What is your manifesto for a better Britain? Send the word TALK via your text to 87222. Leave a voice note and let's talk. So much to get through, but as always at this time on Weekend Breakfast, it is time for Dolan's Dispatch. It's not working, is it? Inflation is chewing up the value of your wage packet. That's if you work and are not one of the 53% of the population that take more out of the system than contribute. There's no houses. In fact, the cost of housing is just eye-watering now, whether you buy or rent. The cost of food in the supermarket is outrageous. I never thought I'd see a time when a block of butter would cost £2.50. Youths wander the streets with machetes the size of a chainsaw. Thugs angle grinding the bicycle lock of someone whose bike gets ridden off into the distance. Shop assistants at the Co-op and Sainsbury's now have body cams to record the inevitable violence which they will be facing on a daily basis. Shoplifting is now so rife, even a jar of Nescafe Gold Blend has a security tag on it. A security tag on a jar of coffee. If that doesn't wake you up, nothing will. It's not working, is it? The roads are jammed. Britain's worst woman chancellor, Rachel from Accounts, Rachel Reeves, taxes everything that moves, killing jobs, investment and opportunity. It is a race to the bottom. before she resigned as a result of a degree of corruption in relation to her accommodation, Angela Rayner, the ginger growler herself, had a workers' rights package, which is like kryptonite for employers. And even a left-wing think tank are today opposing it because it will hurt young people looking for work. None of it's working, is it? Our communities are divided. People living a parallel existence, speaking another language, following other cultures, sometimes following other laws. You've got Brits who are marrying their first cousins, producing unwell offspring who may need a lifetime of medical and social support. It's not working. People work hard and save up and borrow money to buy cars, which then get stolen by people that don't work hard and don't save up and don't borrow money. Houses get burgled with no consequences. Statistically, 2% of burglaries lead to a conviction. 2%, so burglary has been decriminalised. It's not working, is it? When it comes to any kind of property theft, police officers could now simply be replaced by a computer, because all they do when you call them is generate a crime reference number for the insurers. And a computer could do that for a lot less money. Our military is a pale imitation of the majestic fighting machine that defeated fascism in 1945. Who among us now would fight for this country? Our higher education, once the envy of the world, is all too often a hotbed of leftist propaganda and brainwashing. 10 million working-age adults are not active in the economy. And whilst our private sector works daily miracles, employing people, investing, innovating and generating tax income, the public sector gets bigger, more inefficient, more expensive, more wasteful, and worse by the day. It's not working, is it? A large chunk of your council tax goes on gold-plated pensions rather than street lighting, bin emptying and the repair of potholes. We don't do infrastructure anymore. We need more roads. We need more bridges. We need fast internet. We need reservoirs. But when we do build infrastructure, it's an egregiously expensive white elephant like HS2. We live beyond our means with an unsustainable welfare state which rewards idleness and which has been a gold rush for people claiming mental health issues rather than protecting those that welfare was invented for, the people that cannot work. So that's where we are. That is where we are. We've got so many problems, it's not working. All in, we added £1 trillion to the national debt with an insane woke overreaction to a nasty but largely non-fatal seasonal virus in COVID. And the legacy is a culture of worklessness and state dependency. Britain, the United Kingdom, a country that once ruled the world, a country that once had the world at its feet, is now on its knees in a spiral of decline. And it's not just Labour, it's the Tories too. Now, I'm certain that Brexit will serve us well in the long run because it gives us national self-determination. But after 2016, we closed the border to like-minded and more productive Europeans and opened it up to vast swathes of the developing world. And how's that working out? And we can't decide. We no longer seem to have the power to work out who enters the country and who doesn't. 50,000 people every year enter the country illegally. Talk Breakfast has calculated it will be 1/3 in the course of this Parliament. A portion of whom, and it may just be a small portion, many of these folks are trying to have a better life. That's what you would do. That's what I would do. But a small portion of those individuals are criminals. Or they have terror links. Or they may be someone like this guy that's on the run for attacking a 14-year-old girl and destroying her life. This is a man that is still at large. It's not working, is it? The contempt on the part of the authorities and the media and the political class for the well-being and basic safety of our citizens is palpable. They don't care because they're in lovely, big, secure houses in North London. They don't live in the real world. They don't live in the real Britain. Just as the grooming gang victims were sacrificed at the altar of political correctness, so the same pathological empathy would see an illegal immigrant who attacks a young girl as a victim of unfortunate circumstances. He had a tough start in life. And obviously, the consequence is a soft touch approach by the authorities as he walks free from prison and escapes deportation. When that guy got out of jail, he should have been surrounded by cops and frog marched to the airport for his deportation flight. Instead, he actually goes back to the prison. He says, I'm lost, I don't know where I'm going. Tries to get back into the prison 4 times and is turned away by dozy prison guards. How do you think that his 14-year-old victim feels this weekend? Her life destroyed by someone who shouldn't have been here in the first place. And now she's got to process the fact that he's free to roam the streets. Now this guy, this awful, awful human being, this dangerous man, this bad man, is thought to be in and around the capital, and he will likely get sucked into the multicultural joy that is London in 2025 and disappear forever. When I talk about multicultural joy, I'm talking about scenes. Did you see this in the last 24 hours? Scenes of masked thugs marching the streets of East London. Chilling stuff and a portent of the future of this country. A nasty and dangerous civil war, a cultural war. And it's only happened as a result of bad policies by multiple administrations, including the Tories. Yes, indeed, the world's gone mad. It's interesting, this guy's on the run. OK, we can't catch him, we can't keep him in prison, we can't deport him, we can't stop him coming into the country. And he's now out and about in the capital. As one of you said yesterday, texting into the show, I love your texts and I love your calls. One of you said that this dangerous man, all right, all he's got to do is get to Sports Direct when it opens, buy a tracksuit, paid for by us, of course, get a face covering, and he's good to go. Absolutely true. That's exactly right. In a Sports Direct hoodie, roaming the streets of Britain. More cultural enrichment, with the left telling us that he's either a choir boy, a doctor, or an engineer. Do me a favour. It's not working, is it? 03444991000. Text the word talk and your message to 87222. Do you agree or disagree with today's Dolan's dispatch? It's all about opinions. No one gets cancelled on my watch. I want to hear what you think. Left, right or centre. I couldn't care less. I just want a better Britain. Francis is in Somerset. Good morning, Francis. Welcome to Talk Breakfast.
Hello, Mark. Yeah. Thank you for your many words of sensible nature.
Thank you, Francis.
I'd like to sort of offer a sort of interesting solution to the boat problem.
Yes, please.
People are crossing boats, crossing the channel, which is extremely dangerous. We all know that. And many people have died. Why are we not picking them up as soon as they leave on humanitarian grounds?
Well, I completely agree with you. Francis, I'm so glad you said that, because the moral case for stopping the boats is indisputable. The illegal boat crossings, Francis, are an economic, national security and humanitarian disaster.
Yes, but we're always we're banjacked by legal frameworks.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Now, if the Navy goes in there and says, no, we're stopping you because it's too dangerous. We're stopping you on humanitarian grounds. Who's going to argue with that?
Well, I think that's right. And I think that's the argument that has to be made. And I don't understand why this government, which is a Labour government, therefore a left-leaning political administration, Francis, doesn't have the empathy and the concern about people losing their lives in the Channel to tackle this problem head on. I mean, there is even, have I lost the plot here, Francis? But is there a moral case for reinstating the Rwanda plan if it stops people dying in the Channel?
No, I don't agree with that, Mark. The thing is to stop them getting here in the first place. That solves all your problems. You've got a genuine humanitarian need. And I hesitate to use the phrase, but in a way, the government, by allowing this to continue, is overseeing people drowning in the Channel, unnecessary loss of lives, and that includes, I believe, children and women in the past.
Yeah.
They're overseeing that. If you stop them getting here in the first place, all your problems have gone, and you've got a valid reason to do so. You can turn to the French and say, it's irresponsible for us to allow these to cross. It's irresponsible. We're picking them up and returning them to you. Can you imagine, Mark, if the boot was on the other foot? Do you think the French, for 1 minute, would allow thousands of migrants from this country to cross into France? No chance at all. They would blockade Dover.
That is the most brilliantly observed point that you've made there, Francis. I completely agree. I've got this message in, by the way, from an unnamed texter, Francis, who said, your Labour guest that was on talking about safe and legal routes for coming to this country, there is a safe route coming from France. France is a safe government. Labour are very, very clear about this. They're now getting process in France on who can come here legally.
Yes, but there isn't a safe route from France via small boats on the Channel. It's too dangerous, and we must pick them up on humanitarian grounds and return them for their own safety. There's the easy get out. It's all solved. They never get here. They never get to meet lawyers. They never get all the protections. They're in a safe country anyway.
France.
That's the argument I think should be peddled.
Yeah, I think France is going to be the key to unlocking this, isn't it? And as you said, if the shoe was on the other foot, it will be a very different policy. Francis, will you call me again soon? Really enjoyed that. A fascinating set of points you've made. 0344 499 1000. Francis in Somerset there. Why have the boats not been stopped under humanitarian grounds? So true. Elliot is in Bushy. Morning, Elliot. Welcome to Talk Breakfast.
Mark, thanks. I think there's a very, very deep issue here which isn't being discussed. It is my view, and everyone I speak to, and people are frightened to say it, that this government actually hates this country. They have no belief in our history. They have no moral or spiritual belief in our cultural heritage. They actually dislike the country. They dislike me because I'm white, probably, and I'm English, and I'm supposedly middle class. The real problem, coupled to that terrible, terrible indictment, is that this country has lost all its spiritual, cultural capability. If I may courteously suggest, the church, where is the Church of England? The church is dead. God is dead. I don't mean in a religious way. I mean in a spiritual way. With great authority comes great responsibility. And this government, they don't care about you and I. They do have an agenda. I don't call it agenda. Their plan is to Islamize, dare I suggest, this country into what they want. It's a terrible thing. And our Judeo-Christian values have been completely eliminated, and our Western democratic culture and our way of life has been thrown into the bin. And if you don't like it, tough. This is a situation. I mean, the Church of England and Welby, where are they? Welby's gone. The church hasn't been here. And if I may also suggest, and this was all over the papers the other day, and nobody has picked it up, the biggest owner of this country is not King Charles. Can you believe that? It's actually the sovereign wealth fund of the Emir of Qatar. And he's the one who has been, whatever you think of them as a Western ally and a US ally, they have been funding the likes of Hamas and all those revolting people for years. And their propaganda through Al Jazeera, which I just read, they're trying to change, supposedly, is all coupled with this. We can't say anything, we daren't say anything, and we don't want to say anything because our plan is forget about the white working class, forget about, this party, the Labour Party, it doesn't represent the white working class, the grooming gangs, the white trash girls that have been called accordingly. The proof is there for everyone to see, but everyone and no one is afraid to say the truth. Well, I meet people from all over the commercial world in my role, and everyone says exactly what I'm saying, but they're frightened to say it. And this government has an agenda, and their agenda is, one, they hate you and I, They hate the culture. Our Judeo-Christian values have gone, and they simply want to run it how they run it. And if it means 4 million or 6 million or Sharia law, so be it. It's a terrible thing. I'll probably get shot for saying it. But that, in my view, and all the people I speak to from many backgrounds, Mark, say this. It's a terrible, terrible indictment. I'm 70 years old. I had a good education. My parents brought me up in a good way. I learned the culture of this great country, and it's gone. It is as if I have to throw it in the bin and learn this new way. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it.
Elliot, first of all, I completely agree with you about the Church of England, which should be an institution of this country that maintains the tradition and values. What they want to do is actually have graffiti at one of our most stunning and oldest cathedrals, and they also want to pay slavery reparations for slavery to Africa. So that obviously is bizarre. Two things, though. You're suggesting the Islamification of the UK. Is that not a little strong?
You make a very good point, and I use the adjective or word Islamification. Let me try and be polite about it, or diplomatically correct, which I don't like, but I'll do my best.
No, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Elliot. What you think is what you think, big man.
All right, no, well, I'll explain. Let me put it this way. Whether it's Islamist or whether it's far right or far left, to me, these are all points of the compass. They're meaningless. Language has become meaningless. I think what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, this particular government, and it really started with Blair and Mandelson, who Mandelson said, it was on the news, I mean, I've still got the cuttings, he wanted to rub the right of centre's nose in it, i.e. bring in immigration.
Yes, they said we want to rub the right nose in the face of diversity, right?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. Correct. What I'm saying is they dislike this country so much. I can hear my father screaming from the grave when he was in the war. What's happened to this country? They want to replace it with some other culture. If it's of the left, if it's Islamist, if it's, I don't know, some culture from the North Pole, for example, to take silly extremes, they'll do anything that destroys the Western cultural, I say again, the Judeo-Christian values of our Western democracy, and that applies to the whole of Western Europe, unfortunately.
And Elliot, on the Prime Minister, you've mentioned that, it's a crime really to be sort of a white middle or working class man. Well, our Prime Minister is a white British middle class, formerly working class man. So again, do you not think that that's a little strong to suggest that this government somehow are at war with people that the Prime Minister is one of?
No, let me explain. Good point. Let me come back. You can go to YouTube. You yourself play it. Your great radio station. Look how he hated Trump and all the terrible things he used to say about him. Yeah. Now he's in power. He's so sycophantic. It is so revolting, and he stands for nothing. And your previous commentator said, it isn't to do with immigration. It's exactly to do with that, but it's to do with more than that. It's to do that people don't know what this idiot Prime Minister stands for. That is because he doesn't stand for anything. He blows with the wind. 5 years ago, he hated Trump. He brought him over, or Trump came over, and he was all over him. It was so revolting to watch. I was embarrassed to be British.
Elliot, one of the most powerful calls I've taken in a long, long time. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your articulacy. And please do it again soon. 0344 499 1000. Your reaction to what Elliot has had to say. He feels there has been a guided and systematic assault on the traditions and values and culture of this country. Let me know if you agree with Elliot. Let me know if you disagree with him. We're going to continue this conversation next.
Phil, what do you make of what David Lammy said there?
Well, I find it slightly baffling because he talks about inheriting a broken prison system, which is fine. We know that. We have realised that the prison system is broken for a long time. But it's been over a year now that Labour have been in charge, so I don't think we can carry on too much longer blaming previous governments. But what I would say that slightly struck me more was the way that he said that we know that the previous government let prisoners out. Well, wasn't that exactly what Labour have done recently? They've let a whole load of prisoners
That's a fair point, isn't it, James?
Yeah, they have.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This from Paul in Hartlepool. Mark Elliott from Bushy, your last caller, is incredible. He speaks for a huge majority of the UK public. One of the best phone-in calls ever. Thank you, Elliott, says Paul in Hartlepool. Listen, we'll get to lots and lots of your calls and texts in just a moment, but let's have a look at the big political stories of the day in the company of two excellent political commentators, Chloe Dobbs and Adam Dale. First time you've met each other.
Yes. Correct.
And before we get to the grubby business of UK and world politics, congratulations are in order, Adam, because you are engaged to be married.
I am, thank you.
Just in the last few days you proposed, you fell to your knee, I hope.
Yes, although it was raining, so a wet knee.
In Istanbul?
Yes.
That's it. And have you spoken to her father?
I did. It was predates it by quite a few months, actually. I was very prepared.
Old-fashioned one. I'm delighted for you. She's a lucky lady and clearly punching above her weight. Don't worry about that.
Of course.
Have you got a date yet, or are we going to wait and see?
No, we're not in a rush for that.
Well, I'll tell you why you're not in a rush. Because the economy is so broken that you need to wait until inflation comes down, growth comes up, and we come out of the red before you can actually, tie the knot, right?
One could argue things could be better, but I would say I could do it tomorrow if we really wanted to.
Oh, there you go. Well, I'm sure you'd love to do that. And
that's one of the things that puts me off getting married the most is the wedmin. It's so much effort to organise a wedding.
Correct.
I think we're going to.
And a lot of money as well.
Well, if I did it again, hashtag never say never, Mrs. Dolan, I'd have the do at a Wetherspoons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really would. Yeah. I grab a few tables, and I don't think you can do better than that. You order the food and drink from the table, and they bring it to you on a tray. What's not to like? But listen, we need to get to some big news. First of all, Chloe, an illegal immigrant who shouldn't have been in the country in the first place, assaults a 14-year-old girl, destroying her life. He spends a year in prison. He then leaves and is accidentally allowed to roam the streets. He goes back to the prison 3 or 4 times for readmission, and they send him away. Welcome to Broken Britain.
I know. I mean, there's a serious side to this and there's a comical side to this. I mean, the serious side is that we have got somebody who is a paedophile now walking our streets freely and the police cannot find him. The comical side of this is that this guy isn't some kind of James Bond serious guy who's an expert at hiding from the police. This guy is just walking about, chatting to locals on the high street in Chelmsford. He's been to the library. We've just seen in the new CCTV footage last night. And from the sounds of it, there was the delivery driver who spoke to him outside the prison. He actually, in this case, was desperately trying to do the right thing. He said, I'm being deported, but I've got no idea where I'm supposed to go. And so I think in some cases the prisons, they organise for someone to take you, or a taxi to take you to the immigration detention centre, but to some people they say take the bus, take the train, make your own way. But he had this paperwork and it had no address on it. I presume he didn't have a phone and didn't have any idea how to get there, and he was there for 90 minutes going in and asking, where do I go, what do I do? And eventually someone told him, oh, that's how you get to the train station. And so he's just wandering about, and still nearly 2 days later, the police can't find this guy who doesn't even seem to be hiding and running away. He said himself that he wanted to go back to Ethiopia. So I don't think that he's desperately trying to hide away from deportation. It's comical how pathetic this manhunt is.
Adam, is this a tipping point moment for the national conversation around illegal immigration?
I think there's a framing for this around migration that might actually be slightly wrong, because I think this could happen to anyone in any circumstance where, I mean, we all agree this person's a terrible person, right? And what's happened is a shambles in every sense of the word. But I think where the real failure lies is the underfunding of prisons and the underfunding and the understaffing of prisons, which has been happening for a very long time. And it's almost like a dismantling of that order.
How does funding impact a dozy prison guard who allows someone that attacked a 14-year-old girl to just wander off?
Well, they're ordering an investigation into.
That's not a funding issue, is it? Is that not?
Well, this guy, he kept going back over and over and over again, and spoke to several prison staff and begged him. He just wanted some instructions. Tell me how on earth I get there, and they were just being like, "Nah, go away."
It's not beyond the wit of man, is it? You say this guy comes back. He says, "Hi, I've just come out of prison, and I'd like to go back into prison, please." And they say, "Yeah, what's your name?" Put his name into the system, and you go, "Oh, that's a man that's been in prison for assaulting a 14-year-old girl."
And also it's a super high-profile case. In fact, we heard that at the prison they were very much aware of how high-profile his case was.
Well, he's a celebrity.
They didn't allow him to mix with other prisoners because they were worried for his safety.
So why is he safe in prison but the public are not safe when he comes out?
Well, that shows you the failure of the prison system at the moment, right? And I think there's
but it's not funding, it's cultural.
No, I think there's this framing that this is somehow the government's fault. And actually, I think judge them after maybe 5 years of looking after the prisons, not 1 year, because I think this is a dismantling of the prison service, which we've seen, and then we can see that the prison service is broken and it needs reform and it needs fixing. And that movement needs to happen quite quickly because there's clearly serious errors occurring. One thing that hasn't actually been mentioned is he's obviously being sent back to Ethiopia. Is there actually going to be any justice done when he's there?
Oh, I couldn't care less. I just literally chuck him on the beach.
But
as far as I'm concerned,
what does that?
I would literally deposit him on the beach. Because that's how he came to.
There were vulnerable people there as well.
The thing about this guy, right? He actually loves the beach because he landed. He was on the Channel and he landed at Dover, so he loves the seaside. And in the Ethiopian seaside, sunny and clement at this time of year.
Well, this is why
Ethiopia is landlocked, so maybe find a river. But I mean, obviously, I'm being flippant here. But the bottom line is, I mean, this is a paedophile.
Of course,
he's broken the law, entered the country illegally. He's a dangerous man, and he's Ethiopia's problem. I mean, are you genuinely worried about his human rights in Ethiopia?
No, I'm not worried about his human rights. What I am worried about is that he's going to be loose on the streets in another country as well.
Sure, not my problem.
When we have foreign offenders, we have to make a decision as to whether it is best to keep them in a prison here or to deport them away. So when it is someone who is, let's say a terrorist, for example, we're probably unlikely to just deport them back to a country where they'll be free because we know there's a good chance that they might make their way back here again. So they will have made the decision there that actually, if he goes back to Ethiopia, he is unlikely to come back this way.
Well, is it a concern that if this man is caught and sent to Ethiopia, that he actually may suffer a miscarriage of justice or violence? He may not be safe, or he may be a threat to the people of Ethiopia. Is that a concern? Let me know your thoughts. 03444991000. It's all about opinions. We'll get to yours next.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Mark says, Tonya in Belfast, the input from Elliot was one of the most powerful, articulate calls I've ever heard on the radio. He represents so many people in the country. If only the people who run our country would listen. Sadly, everything he said is correct. Well, Tonya, that's what I try to do on Talk Breakfast, is to get your opinions out there. It is the home of free speech. It's the home of common sense. Keep it coming. John says, why all the fuss about this paedophile on the run? Starmer has and continues to release paedophiles long before they've served their sentences. Keep Britain safe? I don't think so. John, you're so right. And I will also say it happened under the Tories as well, who have been asleep at the wheel when it comes to criminal justice and illegal immigration. It's not all a failure of Labour's making. But interestingly, a development now politically, which is we have a new deputy leader of the Labour Party, Adam, and it is Lucy Powell who has advised the Prime Minister to soften his stance on immigration. What do you think that might look like?
I think this is quite an interesting one because obviously we don't know the details behind this briefing. What I would say is she's almost got a new mandate from the party, and it might seem like it's opposed to actually what Starmer's going for, but actually I think what she's doing is she's setting out a clear dividing line between Labour and Reform, and saying you can't chase Reform down and out-reform because these people that are going to vote for Reform are probably never going to vote for Labour anyway. So I think what she's doing is she's creating a clear dividing line, and you can see it quite clearly in what happened with the Caerphilly election. There's enough of a progressive vote out there to go, and there's a 61-39 split in that Caerphilly vote, and if you look at that and go, right, why don't we go for the 61% rather than the 39%, I think that is what she's trying to do.
Well, Talk Breakfast have calculated that at current rates, 1/3 people will enter the country illegally in the course of this Parliament. And in recent years, we've had net migration of almost 1 million people. So in practice, what would it look like if this government were softer on migration? Would that be more illegal boat crossings and more legal net migration?
I don't think migration in general, I think it's obviously a very big taboo word, right? And if you look at it from the perspective of what does migration actually achieve and enable? Now, legal migration achieves and enables growth.
Only headline GDP, not per capita GDP, right?
It
So
can
the country gets a bigger growth number, right, sure. And that's not what we've had in the Boris
Well,
wave,
we had
is
a
it?
lot better skill levels of growth in the EU than we did outside.
And that is true. And that is a fair point. Chloe, I mean, old Keir Starmer, he needs this like a hole in the head, doesn't he? Lucy Powell as his deputy.
Well, I don't think Keir Starmer's happy about this. He wanted Bridget Phillipson, right? And Bridget Phillipson would have been on side with him. I mean, it's very strange to have a Prime Minister and a deputy who are going to be not completely at odds with each other, but are definitely going to have some battles and some fights between them. And the membership of the Labour Party is far more ideologically left-wing than your, say, typical Labour voter. So hence you had the Labour members elect Lucy Powell, who's more left-wing than Keir Starmer, who, you know, Keir Starmer's done a lot of work to try and make the party more centrist. Yeah. And so I think there's going to be a lot of fighting going on. Also, it really frustrates me when we've had a lot of setbacks with the grooming gangs inquiry over the past week or so, to now have this woman who was, you know, caught on any questions saying in response to Tim Montgomery when he brought up the issue, you're going to blow that little trumpet, are you, that dog whistle, and just very flippant about the issue. That for me is very concerning. I would like our people in government to be serious about this issue. On the point of should Labour not try to out Farage. I do think Lucy Powell has a point here. I don't want this country to be run by people who aren't serious about migration, but from Labour's selfish perspective of what's going to get them the most votes, it's been very difficult for them to decide what their identity is when they've got people leaving them in all different directions. They've got people leaving to the Greens, people leaving to Reform. Now we've got the Your Party with Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana. We've got the Lib Dems, of course. But I think that the people who have switched to Reform are probably highly unlikely to go back to Starmer. I don't think they're ever going to trust him on immigration. And so I think there perhaps is a point there to be made. But I think that it's just going to be more and more chaos in Downing Street if we've got more and more fights going on between various members running the show who don't agree with each other.
Well, that's right. The Telegraph described Lucy Powell within the current administration as the enemy within for Sir Keir Starmer. She may be working out cross purposes with the PM and his political agenda. The Sunday Telegraph, Starmer told to bin workers' rights. Now, you would assume, wouldn't you, Adam Dale, that this is some sort of right-wing think tank, you know, we don't want workers' rights, we want to go back to sort of the era of Charles Dickens and the workhouse. No, this is the Resolution Foundation, a left-leaning think tank, and in fact, apparently Labour's favourite think tank, who have said that the workers' rights bill risks crippling the jobs market. Of course, it was a plan championed by Angela Rayner, the former Deputy PM, to give workers a day one right against unfair dismissal. And the Resolution Foundation have said that the policy risks blighting the job prospects of millions of people whilst offering little obvious gain to workers. Your reaction?
I think it's an interesting one, this, actually, because you might think my opinion's one way, but actually I think that there is a necessity at the moment to look after the economy, and in the sense of they're trying to balance things, and there could be a little bit of pandering to the left wing of the party with this idea, and actually there might be a case that they need to stay resolute on that centre ground, or they're going to miss the centre vote. And this bill, I struggle to see the benefit, like
it's
you said.
Ideological, isn't it, rather than practical? I mean, why would you make employers' lives harder, especially after the national insurance tax raid, with issues like sick pay from day one, bereavement leave from day one, and unfair dismissal rights from day one?
It's a difficult. It really grates against me, this one, because in a ideal world, yes, you'd give people the rights that they often frequently deserve, and there are edge cases where people, well, I say edge cases, there's a fair chunk of people that will abuse this if we're not careful.
Well, you're so right, because I mean, you know the business world, you work in finance, and the issue you got with unfair dismissal is that somebody could actually essentially, you know, in a corrupted way, sort of capitalise on that, weaponise it, where you get a job and then immediately claim unfair dismissal if you've been fired. And very often businesses just settle, don't they? They just write a cheque to make this go away.
Yeah, so what I would suggest is that you can't go too tight on these things. I think there should be some restructuring of the workers' rights, but if they go too far, they do risk alienating business, which they're trying to ally with at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I just cannot believe how self-destructive this government are, because this is another anti-growth policy, Chloe Dobbs, and they are the government. They need growth.
They desperately do need growth, and in order to deliver the promises that they want to deliver, like, for example, sorting out the NHS, we've spoken about the prisons and how those are underfunded. Yes, we need to get some tax receipts coming in, but the way to do that is not to A, cripple businesses with more red tape, and B, constantly hike up taxes. They should have managed expectations better and said, look, we want to sort out the NHS, we want to sort out the prisons and all of these things, but we need to get growth moving first to get tax receipts up before we can deliver all of those. But what they are doing is seemingly doing everything they can to stop growth. And we were told when we had the 40 billion in tax hikes in the last budget that this was a one-off budget. This sort of thing wasn't going to happen again, but it's going to be the same story again this autumn. We know there are going to be tax hikes, absolutely. And with the workers' rights bill and also the renters' rights bill, there are some things in there that make sense. But if you look at how long these documents are and how much red tape there is, it's unbelievable, and a lot of it completely unfit for small businesses as well. So, I mean, for example, the workers' rights bill, it means that you can't just cancel and change people's shifts at the last minute. I like that. I used to work in a pub where at midnight on a Sunday night you had no idea if you were meant to be there at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. You were begging the boss. I thought that was unacceptable, right? So there are some things that make sense there. Same with the renters' rights bill. But there is a lot. For example, this gives trade unions the right to come and storm the private premises of your business, even if you're a tiny small business, with the support of only like 2% of your members of staff, and all sorts of crazy things in there. It's just all ideology rather than practicality.
Fascinating. Your reaction to that, 03444 991,000. Next up, the number of councils housing migrants is set to rise even higher to a brand new record Yes, the public want to get rid of the migrant hotels, but be careful what you wish for, because it looks like social housing will now be taken up by people that have entered the country illegally. I'll give you more details on that next.
Derby Council, Derby City Council, but eagle-eyed, said, well, you look like you're probably a middle-aged guy. You know, you're balding and you're grey hair and you're smoking, your deep voice, stubble. Well, he said, no, I am a child. So he's appealed to the courts. This appeal, as decided by Judge Gaynor Bruce of the Upper Tribunal of the Immigration and Asylum Chamber, has agreed that this bloke is a child.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Labour are so deluded, says Mick, and disbelieving that the population hate them. Only 20% of their members bothered to vote in the deputy election. Wake up! No, we should not worry about this sex attacker going back to his own country. That's his home. What next? Worry about everyone in every country. Elliot was brilliant. How much more tax does this Labour government want us to pay? That's Janice in Staffordshire. Elliot has just spoken. That was a caller that spoke to the show earlier. What we're going to do, Dean, let's get that clip out on X and on YouTube as well. All of the highlights of Talk Breakfast go onto YouTube, and they very often go viral. Last week's interview with Andrew Lowney about Prince Andrew is on 1 million views. So let's have a look. Elliot has just spoken for so many, says Ruth in Manchester. My father and grandfather fought for this country and they've been betrayed. It sickens me to know that the ones who have tried to destroy this country can stand at the cenotaph. Ruth, thank you for that. Chris in Newbury, Mark, the left keep telling us prisons should be about rehabilitation, not punishment. Why do I want to spend a single penny rehabilitating foreign national sex offenders? Take them from court to Heathrow, give their victim a cheque for the money that we would have spent putting them in prison as a restorative payment. Job done. Thank you for that, Chris. Now, migrants are crossing the channel in their droves. More than 90% of councils will be housing asylum seekers by the end of this year, according to the Sunday Express. Now, obviously, what you've done there, Chloe, I suppose, solved one problem with the migrant hotels, created another with placing illegal immigrants into social housing.
Yes, I mean, when Labour said we're going to end the use of hotels, they're not exactly giving us what we're after by just moving them from one place to another in the country. A lot of people are actually even more concerned about HMOs, for example.
Homes of multiple occupancy.
Homes of multiple occupancy, and then some of them will end up with flats, and that we're hearing some of them are going to be placed in London. I mean, me, for example, I've been desperately trying to get a flat in London for years, but it's ridiculously expensive. You need to be some sort of millionaire. I'm still house sharing, but then you'll see some people who've just turned up illegally get themselves a nice flat. I'm sure there'll be a mixture of accommodation, but the few cases where people do get something like that is going to really infuriate people. And the reality is that they are going to have this problem until they stop the boats from coming in. You can't end this problem of asylum seekers being out and about in our communities, costing the taxpayer a fortune, unless you stop them coming. And there is no urgency, no concerted effort to stop the boats from turning up in the first place. The one in, one out policy sounded pathetic enough as it was to start with, only 50 people being swapped a week, and they can't even pull that off. They've now, months and months after they announced it on the 10th of July, have managed to send back 42 people, I believe, is the latest figure.
Yeah. Now, Adam, I will grant you that those who are here are human beings, okay, and they do have human rights, and they are a complex problem. Legally, administratively, everything. So that's fine. We'll park that. We can agree that it's a complex issue. There's no magic wand. But why, therefore, is it not being treated as a national emergency that upwards of 1,000 people continue to come every day? That if you just accept there are folk here and we're going to have to sort that out, why, therefore, is there not more focus on the source of this issue, which is costing enormous amount for the country, and there's one of these characters on the run following a sex attack?
Okay, so there's a lot to break down in this.
Good luck. Strap
in
yourself
this
in,
scenario.
folks.
So I would suggest, based on the headline, what we're talking about is obviously the councils. But I think it's a bit of a faux headline in a sense, because what we're talking about essentially is pushing the problem around from the hotels to the councils.
Correct.
Right? So we can all agree on that. And what I can also agree with you on is that the government needs to go further, faster. What I think is a missed or misdiagnosed part of this issue is, and I'm sorry to bring it back again, but when we were in the EU, we had loads of return policies with different countries. And the reason they're going back to these return policies is because they worked. If you look at where the small boats issues came in, they all spiked
Where
after
do you think the
2016.
numbers would be? Where would the numbers be if we were in the EU now? It's currently 50,000 a year.
We wouldn't have all the
I reckon
small
we'd
boat
have.
crossings.
I reckon we'd have 49,999.
No, I don't think we can't quantify, because obviously we're not in the EU now. But what I would say is we're talking about.
But this is an EU.
We were talking about
this is an
unskilled
EU that
versus skilled, right?
struggles with illegal immigration itself.
Yes, but everyone's struggling with illegal immigration. And another thing we need to go onto here is about this idea that we should scrap the foreign aid budget. If you scrap the foreign aid budget, the places where you're actually affecting get worse, and so people go out further.
I'm not sure the foreign aid budget touches the sides in terms of the sources of the criminal gangs, but you never know.
No, so a few things there. So first of all, the EU has huge problems with illegal migration, and some of the countries they are dealing with far worse problems than we are, and it's a warning sign of what we could become.
And it's only our geography that protects us, right?
Well, the thing is we should be able to stop these people coming our way easier than the other countries in Europe, because we've actually got a sea between France and us, yet somehow we can't stop this from happening. Now, Brexit has created a unique problem, I will admit that. So in the EU, there is fingerprint sharing, and if, for example, you try to claim asylum in France, they could send you back to the first country that you came to in the EU. So, for example, you speak to some migrants in France and say, why are you making your way to Britain? And they say, oh, we wouldn't mind living in France, but we're worried if we claim asylum here, we might get sent back to Bulgaria, where they have our fingerprints, but we were beaten up by the police there and we don't want to go there. So that is one reason why we've got people coming across. But nevertheless, we can't just say, oh, well, there's nothing we can do about it because of Brexit. There's plenty we can do. And what we absolutely need to do is we need to leave the ECHR. One of the reasons why it's so hard for us to actually deport people and create a meaningful deterrent is because the ECHR rules seem to stop us from deporting anybody from this country. It is near impossible. There are some really basic basic things that we can also do, reducing the pull factors. I'm not saying we should let these people live on the streets and be in tents on the side of the road and making a mess of the place, right? But I think that what we offer them is very often far too comfortable. 50 quid a week on our spent cards, nice hotels,
Adam, I've got a
trips
solution.
out, taxis everywhere.
Got a perfect solution. Bring back the Rwanda plan, because the Irish government said it was working before it even started.
Well, it was quite interesting because I actually read a headline yesterday about how Labour maybe missed an opportunity to let the Rwanda plan play out and essentially show why it would fail. And the other side...
I'd love to give it a go. Couldn't be worse than the current... Anyway, what was the other side?
Well, the other side of this is you're agreeing with some of what I'm saying, essentially, which is we had loads of return policies and it was a lot easier for us to send people back, and that is a deterrent in itself. And what we've done is we've shot ourselves in the foot. And now we've got all these small boats crossings. In 2016, you see if you look at any graph, you see the spikes of small boats crossing.
So if we go back in, do the boats stop?
I think they would start to curtail downwards.
I tell you what, it's all about opinions.
The boats might stop, but the number of illegal migrants coming here would still be high, because so long as the EU has lots of migrants arriving there, they have a policy to disperse them across the EU countries.
Last word briefly,
and everyone take their share.
It's a shared problem we have to deal with inside the EU.
Chloe Dobbs, Adam Dale, great job. Keep it talk. A big hour to come.
Is it transphobic to say only women have a cervix?
Well, it is something that shouldn't be said. It is not right. A woman is an adult female, and the court has made that absolutely clear. I actually welcome the judgment because I think it gives real clarity. It allows those that have got to draw up guidance to be really clear about what that guidance should say. If you want to fight for Remain, vote Labour. Now, there are some who say we don't need Brexit to work. We need to reverse it. I couldn't disagree more. Day after day, there are new allegations of sleaze, of favours, of privileged access. And it's all very well the Prime Minister saying, well, say now, well, I'm paying for it.
You've decided to repay £6,000 worth of gifts.
Lord Ali is facing an investigation. I wonder how concerned you are that your biggest donor was not fully transparent.
Are you saying you made a mistake?
It was right for me to make those repayments. Thank you. Of course, I wouldn't want Donald Trump round for dinner, but don't underestimate the danger to the world if Trump is re-elected this time around. I'm anti-Trump. I would like to send my warmest congratulations to President Trump on his inauguration as the 47th President of the United States.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Top of the morning to you. I'm Mark Dolan. This is Talk Breakfast at 3 minutes past 9. I hope you enjoyed the extra hour in bed. A busy hour to come. An illegal migrant convicted of an appalling sex attack on a 14-year-old girl is still on the run, having been released from jail accidentally. Will he ever be found? Breaking this morning is the news that this individual actually tried to return to prison 4 or 5 times, but guards turned him away. You couldn't make it up. Welcome to Broken Britain. We'll give you full coverage of a story which has shocked a nation and which represents the terminal failure of our public institutions to keep us safe. Lots more to get through today. In a fresh political headache for Sir Keir Starmer, the ultra-woke Lucy Powell becomes his deputy leader. And already she's telling him to soften his position on immigration. What does that look like? Open borders? Could a power struggle within the governing party of this country see Sir Keir Starmer evicted from number 10? And in a Talk Breakfast exclusive, a victory for our campaign to get ITV to recognise the genius of the comedy double act Cannon and Ball. Well, the amazing Tommy Cannon joins us live on the show for a special extra long, no holds barred interview at 9:30. In which he'll be telling us about the highs and lows of fame, his deep friendship with the late Bobby Ball, and the release of his long-awaited life story. Were you a fan of Cannon and Ball? Did they touch your life in some way? Did you sit there like I did on a Saturday evening, chuckling away at their gags and their sketches and their incredible chemistry? Let me know. Call us with your Cannon and Ball memories, 0344 499 1000. Book your place on the show to speak to Tommy Cannon, a true legend. He's up at 9:30. So my number is 0344 499 1000. It's all about your opinions. Let's get them on the national television and radio airwaves. You can text the word talk and your message to 87222. We are on the radio, DAB+. We're in-app and we're online. You can also watch the show. Just head to YouTube and search Talk and up we pop. Lots to get through in this hour. Let's kick off with the big stories of the day in the company of two of my favourite people, two outstanding political commentators. We've got the head of comms for Popular Conservatism, Annunziata Rees-Mogg, and the former Conservative MP and now broadcaster and commentator Sir Michael Fabricant. Great to see both of you. And Annunziata Rees-Mogg, you've got a man that entered the country illegally who attacks a 14-year-old girl, possibly destroying her life. He then walks free from prison, goes back to prison 3 or 4 times, asking for help and potentially for re-entry. He's now at large, potentially in the capital city of this country. You couldn't make it up.
You couldn't, with the police rather sweetly but utterly pathetically saying, please help, please hand yourself in.
Unbelievable.
He tried. He tried for 90 minutes, apparently, to get back into prison, saying he should be there. And it seems like one person seems to have been suspended because they accidentally released him. But this is a systemic failure, isn't it? That when you've got prison staff giving him directions to the train station, refusing him entry back to the prison, he asked 4 or 5 times. This is a very serious problem with our institutions in this country. They are not working.
Most definitely. So, Michael Fabricant, who do we hold responsible for this oversight?
Well, first of all, we have to feel relieved, I think, because Wes Streeting has said that he is angry. And David Lammy, he's livid. So this should give reassurance to the nation. Apparently 246 people, not just this guy, but 246 people have been released. They've committed dangerous crimes, but have been released this year when they shouldn't have been, which is twice as many as the previous year. Why any are being released, I have no idea. And who's responsible? Well, you know what they say? The buck stops there, and where is there? The government.
Most definitely. Of course, Labour have only been in power for a year and a bit. This is a legacy of 14 years of Tory misrule, isn't it, Annunziata?
Well, as Michael just said, it has doubled in the last year. There might have been problems, but Labour is just making them worse and worse.
Same with the economy, isn't it?
don't know where to begin with that. It's Rachel Reeves has been such a disaster, and we have another huge warning from the supermarkets again today. But it's basically weekly that we have some massive warning on what's going wrong and how much all of us will suffer from her policies. But this is clearly an institutional problem. But it feels like it's being hidden. Just as with the rape gangs, people didn't want to investigate because it might cause offence. I fear that there is a similar problem going on here, where just in case, you investigate the wrong person who should have been released, and that you might be accused that there's some stereotyping going on, you pretend it doesn't happen and you brush it under the carpet.
Yes. So, Michael, is this a tipping point moment that changes the national conversation around illegal immigration? Because the idea that someone would enter the country illegally and then harm a young British citizen, a 14-year-old girl, this has surely got to spark so much public anger.
I wish it were the case, but I suspect not. I think that if there is anger, and I think there is anger at the incompetence of yet another example of how Labour has failed to actually deliver what they promised to deliver, I don't think it is a tipping point. I think it's just one more step after another step, precisely demonstrating, that this government doesn't really care. And now you've got Lucy Powell, of course, the deputy leader, the deputy prime minister of the United Kingdom, saying that she actually thinks we shouldn't be, we should actually be welcoming illegal immigrants, and that the government is trying to imitate the Reform Party, and that's why Reform is doing so well. And Labour should return to its grassroots and embrace those people who want to come into our country for no other reason than they have a cushy life here under Labour.
Yes, is there a possibility, Annunziata, that this government could soften its position on immigration further based upon political pressure from Starmer's new deputy?
Absolutely. I mean, we do now have, again, a sort of civil war at the heart of Labour, with Lucy Powell representing the hard left, effectively. She quoted Jeremy Corbyn's "for the many, not the few" in her speech yesterday. She criticised Farage, saying we've let him get away with it, and we reject this strong policy on immigration that supposedly Starmer has. In my view, it's a pathetic policy that isn't having any effect at all on immigration and is just words, not actions. But if the Labour Party does soften their stance further, we will just have even more, and even a whiff of that to the people smugglers. And there will be more and more people coming. That we've shown we can't even deport someone who has been arrested, convicted, put in prison, and yet we still lose them rather than deport him back to Ethiopia. It is we are such a soft touch, and we are an attractive place for people to come. But I think Starmer does face a problem with Lucy Powell, that he is seen as the heir to Blair by the left of his party. I don't think he's seen as the heir to Blair to most of the public, but the left of his party are rather delusional, and they are setting themselves up as one side against the other. This could well split the Labour Party and make his life very difficult.
Yes, Fiona has messaged the show. Good morning, Fiona. She said, Starmer shouted country first, party second. All we're hearing from Lucy Powell and Starmer is how they're getting party votes. Another lie. How about this from, let's have a look, Fiona, and there's a different Fiona there, who says, Labour want to tax our citizens for housing illegal immigrants, and if these migrants get work, they send monies home to women and children they left in a war zone. Or do their families come to live in their new houses with access to free healthcare and education? Are these migrants getting priority for all the jobs coming with clean energy to the Prime Minister? A lot of anger regarding the migrant hotels, which is now, Sir Michael, going to change and going to become a concern about social housing in council areas. So 90% of councils will be accommodating illegal immigrants in the year ahead. And Helen's not happy about this. She said, Mark, my daughter was lucky enough to get a council flat. It was in a shocking state and we took weeks getting it habitable. Will the migrants have the same thing? I doubt it. Your reaction to the news, Michael, that 90% of British councils will now be taking illegal immigrants?
Well, I mean, what we want to see, frankly, is those immigrants who do come into this country for the right reason to be integrated. What Labour doesn't really understand is there is going to be so much anger, even more anger than there is at present, if people start taking over the British housing. And if they do that, people are going to have such a feeling of resentment. And it means that the few immigrants who come here legally, who deserve to be here, who are escaping oppression and not just coming here because Britain is a soft touch, they're not going to be treated as well as they ought to be from a decent nation. So basically what I'm saying is that Labour has got this huge housing plan to build more and more houses, but are they going to go to British people? No, just 1 in 10. And that has to be wrong with all the crises that exist at the moment. And God help us following the budget at the end of November, because I think the crisis will grow even more and more and more. To see how illegal immigrants are being treated compared to ordinary, decent British people, it's going to cause such tension. Maybe that will be the tipping point that you talked about, Mark.
Indeed. I mean, Sir Michael, do you look at the state of the country with a heavy heart, given the fact that you did sit on those back benches as the governing party for 14 years?
I wasn't always on the back benches, Mark. I was I was a minister for a while, but apart
and
from
a very good
correcting you
minister.
on that minor point, yes, absolutely, and the frustration I feel, and the number of times that I spoke to David Cameron about this, but no, I'm afraid the Conservatives weren't listening at the time either. I don't think we would have been doing, and I know damn well we wouldn't have been doing as badly as this present government. And incidentally, it's worth noting that Keir Starmer is the most unpopular leader now since records began. You think it was bad under Boris. You think that Margaret Thatcher was hated. Well, I can tell you, they were more popular at their least liked points than Keir Starmer is now. And it's for a reason. He doesn't have direction. And as we were saying earlier, the whole Lucy Powell thing is going to cause massive tensions in the Labour Party. And it's something that I think could see the implosion. And in fact, I was saying to friends last night in Lichfield, that where I am at the moment, that I've got a bet, I'm going to lay a bet that Keir Starmer will not be Prime Minister come Christmas next year, because I think with the May elections, it's going to be bad for the Conservatives. It's going to be far, far worse for Labour.
And on that bombshell, will the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, be out of number 10 in a year? More on that next.
Britain is broken.
Jamie, I couldn't have put it better myself. And you know what? It shows that they don't care. I think the government showed you that they don't care when they used the Home Office to overturn your ruling to say that those illegal immigrants need to get out of that hotel in Epping. And now this is just another go at the people of Epping who just want safety. They genuinely just want the basic human right of being able to walk the streets at night. And now they can't even do this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Can I say that Talk is nothing without the army of viewers and listeners that tune in every day, day and night? And there's no radio station, there's no TV network without you. And it's a quick shout out to Sally and her cat Elvis, who I understand are keen listeners to the show. Well, we are so grateful to have you, Sally, and I'm sure that Elvis is a very wise cat, because cats are very wise creatures, aren't they? They're very reflective, they're very intellectual, and no doubt, Sally, you are the queen of common sense. So thank you so much for watching and or listening to Talk Breakfast. Sally and Elvis with his blue suede paws. OK, folks, listen, we've got to crack on because we've got to talk about the state of the country, and we're going to do that in the company of the head of communications at Popular Conservatism, Annunziata Rees-Mogg, and Sir Michael Fabricant, who is a former Conservative MP and now in demand and a very popular political commentator. Annunziata, Sunday Telegraph, Starmer told to bin workers' rights. Labour's workers' rights bill risks crippling the jobs market. According to, wait for it, Annunziata, the Labour Party's favourite left-wing think tank, the Resolution Foundation.
This is definitely a real blow to Starmer. These plans were drawn up by Rayner before she had to leave for her own tax affair reasons. They are an appalling list of supposed rights for workers that will just hugely damage employability and increase our unemployment in this country, as the Resolution Foundation has said. I think one fascinating fact, I think it was Andrew Griffith pointed out yesterday, is that more cabinet ministers have worked for the Resolution Foundation than in a business. That is how close to this government this think tank is. And it hasn't just criticised the Employment Rights Bill, which is appalling, but it does explain why it will make employment worse. But it has also laid into Rachel Reeves's national insurance increases, the other moves that this government has made that are meaning businesses are closing and jobs are being lost.
However, Sir Michael Fabricant, the national insurance tax rate was as a result of settling pay disputes that began under the Conservatives, and also we know that Labour inherited a massive deficit and a huge national debt. Similarly, the workers' rights package, isn't it about making sure that people who work hard are treated fairly, get a fair wage and have proper rights?
Well, I was reading in The Times, the newspaper, of course, which is a part of the Talk Radio group today.
And what a great read it is, let me tell you.
It is actually. It's a very, very good read, the Sunday Times and the Times newspaper. My favourite.
Are you angling for a column just like Rishi Sunak?
Maybe I should.
Maybe I'd like it. I'd read your comments all day long.
I think I'm too outrageous for the Times, actually. But I was reading in the Times that since the 15% pay rise from Labour, that the average wage now for a train driver is something in the order of £77,000, which is more than a senior police officer, more than an airline pilot, more than... what was the other one?
A school teacher, a well-qualified school teacher wouldn't make that much?
No, exactly. And the point that I'm making really is that one of the reasons, first of all, they did not have this black hole that Labour kept on going on about. We know that Labour are habitual liars. And if there were that black hole, how would they have been able to fund the massive pay rises, not only to the rail unions, but also some nurses and others? And now we've got, incidentally, consultants saying quite rightly, well, nurses are now earning almost as much as us. Not the case, actually, but, you know, the differentials. Remember that phrase from the 1970s? No, you're too young, Mark. But in the 1970s...
I'm going to Google it. What's a differential?
A differential is when you have one group of people earning a certain amount of money, others are slightly lower down, and then when the lower down one gets a pay rise, they get much closer. And people get angry because the differential isn't there, because they say they're in a more senior position. That's why you've now got consultants and senior doctors saying, well, we want a pay rise too. And the simple answer to your question is no, there wasn't that huge deficit. And B, putting up 2% on employers' national insurance might sound like a cheap gimmick because it means that it didn't come out directly out of employees' pockets. What it does mean is that employers are going out of business. I've already seen a couple of shops closed here in Lichfield and closed, and they're saying because of national insurance. And this is just a repeat of what happened in the 1970s. I mean, I have to say, I was looking at some of the pictures just now of Keir Starmer that you were showing during the introduction there for those people watching this on TV and thinking how haggard he looks. And, you know, when I think how things started going wrong for the Conservatives, which was after COVID and with the Ukraine war dragging money out of this country, and that was after 11 years. Labour have barely been in office a year and they are falling apart. We all see it. It is quite extraordinary, actually. I have never seen a government collapse so quickly. I mean, government's been in, the Conservative government, for 14 years. What have Labour been doing in all that time? Haven't they been thinking of policy? Haven't they been thinking of a direction they want to go in? Apparently not. They're directionless.
I hear what you're saying about the disputed £20 billion black hole, Michael, but you can't argue that the economy wasn't in a very dire state when Labour took to power in July of last year. Annunciata, do you think there's any instinct for self-preservation on the part of the Prime Minister, that he might, in the months ahead, tackle illegal immigration, possibly press the nuclear button of tearing up the ECHR, and having some policies that will boost the economy?
His backbenchers won't let him tear up the ECHR. The Human Rights Act, as embedded into British law, is there to stay for as long as Labour has a majority. He might want to. I think he does actually recognise that immigration is likely to be the issue that brings him down, but he's hamstrung by his own party, half of whom think we should allow absolutely anybody and everybody into this country and should be part of a global community where we are all the same and being British is meaningless. If anything, something to be ashamed of and to water down. He is looking haggard. I think Michael makes a very good point that if you look at Tony Blair after 18 months, he still looks like Tony Blair. If you look at Theresa May after 18 months, she's aged 20 years. And Keir Starmer is definitely in that category. And I think it shows he might well feel he just has to resign for his own sake.
Now, I'm going to have to interrupt both of you because I've got breaking news, and it's welcome breaking news, which is that the man who entered this country illegally and spent 12 months in prison for a sexual assault of a 14-year-old girl has been caught. That's right. If you're just joining us on Talk Breakfast, I can bring you the news that this man has been caught. His name is Hadush Kibatu, an Ethiopian national who was accidentally freed at HMP Chelmsford on Friday, has been found and arrested after a manhunt. The Met Police says Kibatu was arrested in the Finsbury Park area of North London at 8:30 a.m. this morning. The police have their man. This guy's going to be detained and now he will be deported to Ethiopia. What a sorry tale, Annunziata Rees-Mogg, but at least this man's been caught.
I mean, it's like something out of Inspector Clouseau, but I'm delighted he is off our streets, and that is what matters. And now we'll see if he's actually deported or whether, like the so-called one in, one out, he just hops back on another boat back here again.
Yes, will lessons be learnt from this, Sir Michael? Your reaction to the news that Hadush Kavatu has been caught?
I was wondering, actually, whether he was caught, given that he went back several times to the prison saying, let me back in. I just wonder whether he went up to a policeman and said, look, will you please arrest me? I want to get back in. So I'd love to know the circumstances, whether it was, you know, the police. And I don't really want to knock the police here because they're not the the criminals in this instance, but I really do wonder whether it was the police who caught him or whether he just surrendered himself to the nearest police officer. I was going to say the nearest police officer patrolling the streets, but you never see police officers patrolling the streets nowadays. But anyway.
No, that's right. Just to bring you up to speed, a migrant sex offender who was released from prison in error has been arrested in London after a manhunt. And can we please just hang on to him this time? Annunziata, we interrupted you mid-flow there with regards to the Prime Minister's sort of efforts to run the country in the months ahead. You mentioned that you think he'll come under significant pressure, Michael. Do you agree with that, Annunziata? Do you think that Starmer could be gone in a year?
I think he may well decide for himself, but the Labour Party mechanisms for changing leader, if he doesn't want to, we're stuck with him.
That's interesting, isn't it? And I've got to say that a lot of people agree with you, Michael, that he is under pressure. Rob from Wiltshire says, hi, Mark, my prediction is that Starmer and Reeves will be gone early in the new year following the dreadful budget in November. I hope it's the catalyst that brings this government down. Is there any conceivable way, Michael, that Britain gets an early general election?
No, I don't think that'll happen. I've never disagreed with Annunziata on anything, but I was asking, but on this one I do, because I was asking my best friend, who happens to be ChatGPT, about what the mechanism is to get rid of a Labour Prime Minister or a Labour leader. And there are mechanisms now. The rules change slightly. It's very easy. It's too easy in the Conservative Party to do it, as we know only too well to our cost. However, it is possible that you do need a certain number of Labour MPs to say they haven't got confidence in their leader, and it's less than 50%, but it's getting near it. And they could get rid of him. But I think it'll all come down, not what your listener said after the budget, but it'll be after the May elections. I mean, we saw this incredible result in Caerphilly in Wales, where it was a very, very strong Labour seat, and I think their vote went down to 14%, something of that order. It was very, very low indeed from a previous 80%. So it was a massive drop. Yeah, I think he'll be gone after May. I think people will say enough. And I certainly agree with your listener who says, and Rachel Reeves will be gone too, because she is also the most unpopular Chancellor of the Exchequer since records began. So the two of them are toast.
I'll tell you who's toast before I let both of you go, and lovely to see you both on a Sunday morning. Bad news for fans of Pizza Hut. Scores of restaurants are to close at the cost of 1,200 jobs, and of course it's an example of the egregious state of the high street in this country. And Annunziata,
and because of the national insurance,
I was going to say,
citing that
it's been so bad for hospitality, and the reason why the national insurance tax rate is particularly egregious, Annunziata, is because it impacts young workers in hospitality who often it's their first job after school or university to work in a pub or a restaurant. They don't have those jobs now. But Pizza Hut is dwindling. We're losing loads of branches. So, Annunziata Rees-Mogg, what is your preferred pizza topping?
In Pizza Hut, they call it cheese and tomato. Other places, they call it margarita. I'm as simple as they come.
Yeah, you're old school. I like that. Keep it simple. How about you, Michael? Do you have a more colourful toppings for pizzas?
You know, another occasion where I have to disagree strongly with Annunziata.
No.
This is very,
the right
very
are so split these
My
days.
favourite topping is spicy, so it's chorizo. I always add Tabasco and make it as spicy as possible.
I'd love to try your hot sausage. Thank you, Sir Michael. And thank you, Annunziata, two very good friends of mine, and I think you'll agree, both great broadcasters, Sir Michael Fabricant, Conservative commentator, ex-Tory MP, and Annunziata Rees-Mogg, who is the head of communications for Popular Conservatism. Full disclosure, my favourite pizza topping would be chicken with barbecue sauce. How naughty is that? But I had it once. Someone said to me, I was working at a venue, and they said, do you want a pizza on the house? I'm like, that's very nice. And they said, try the chicken and barbecue sauce. I'm like, I'm not going to do that, because it's going to be pepperoni, margarita. But they said, try it, you'll never go back. And let me tell you, I've never gone back. Your favourite pizza topping for a bit of fun on a Sunday morning, let me know, 8722. Next up, I am so excited about this. It is a Talk exclusive, and it is the comedy legend Tommy Cannon, and a major victory in his campaign and ours to get ITV to recognise their comic genius. Tommy Cannon is next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
We have breaking news, folks. It's been the only story in town for the last 48 hours, but if you're just joining us on Talk Breakfast, the man who entered this country illegally and committed a sex assault on a 14-year-old local girl in Epping, an assault that sparked the protests around the Bell Hotel where illegal immigrants were being housed. This guy is called Hadush Kebatu. He was imprisoned for 12 months for his crimes, and he was allowed to walk free rather than be deported, and in fact returned to his prison 3 or 4 times asking for guidance on where to go next. It was a complete failure of the prison authorities. Well, he was at large and he has been found. So Hadush Kebatu, an Ethiopian national who was accidentally freed from HMP Chelmsford on Friday, has been found, detained and arrested after a manhunt. The Met Police in London say that Kebatu was arrested in the Finsbury Park area of the capital at 8:30 a.m. this morning. Massive, massive story and a big development there in what has been quite clearly a national scandal. I'll tell you what was also a scandal. The fact that Cannon and Ball, one of the most successful comedy double acts of all time, were completely ignored by ITV in their 70th anniversary celebrations. This is a double act that had a massive career live, on stage, in theatres around the country, and were an absolute stalwart of TV in the 1980s and beyond, with a show that was watched by upwards of 21 million people. Cannon and Ball were absolute genius, cruelly ignored by ITV. Well, I'm delighted to say that as a result of our good efforts here on Talk Breakfast, and indeed the efforts of Tommy Cannon himself and his army of supporters. Finally, ITV have recognised the genius of Cannon and Ball, and you can watch their amazing back catalogue of shows on the ITV player. And I know you've got to spend a few quid for the ITV player. It's like £5 a month or something. Worth every penny just to watch Cannon and Ball. And Cannon and Ball have massively impacted so many people's lives in a positive way, including a caller to this show last time Tommy was on. Have we got the clip? If so, let's run VT.
You made me the person I am today. I was going through a lot at home. I was in and out of children's homes for certain stuff with the family. And you, and waiting with my mum for you pair to come on, you pair saved me, literally.
Thank you very much.
And I've always wondered at 55 if you ever really knew just what you guys did for some of us. You were literally all we had to look forward to bring some sunlight into our lives.
Well, Cannon and Ball did do so much for this country. They entertained us for decade after decade after the decade. And I'm delighted to say, I'm humbled and privileged to say that joining us exclusively on Talk Breakfast is Tommy Cannon. Morning, Tommy.
Morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm really well. And I'm so happy that the millions of people that enjoyed Cannon Ball all those years ago, and now the next generation can watch you in action on the ITV player online.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, I suppose really we shouldn't have had to say why ITV had done that or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's fantastic. And I thank you as well, Mark, because you got me onto this show, and it's fabulous. I mean, it's just like we're having a reawakening of what Cannon and Ball used to do, and it's fantastic.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. You don't have to thank us, because it is our duty here at Talk to celebrate the great things about this country, and it doesn't get better than Cannon and Ball. And I've got so many happy memories of watching Cannon and Ball as a child and as a teenager. And then before our interview a few weeks ago, I had to go back onto YouTube and watch some of the back catalogue, and it was comedy gold. I've got to say, the dancing, the singing, the comic timing, how much work went into each episode of the Cannon and Ball show?
Well, to be honest with you, it seemed to be quite easy. I mean, when we did our very first TV show, we did it like we were entertaining people in a cabaret room. Bobby went that way, I went the other way, and David Bell, who was the head of the LWT, came down. He said, "What the heck are you doing, boys?" I said, "We're doing our act, David." He said, "You can't do that." He said, "We've got 3 cameras, that's all." He said, "You've sent them dizzy."
Yeah.
They were trying to follow us. So, of course, they put 2 marks on the stage, and David said, "That's your mark, Tommy, the red one, and that's yours, Bobby, the blue one. Do not move off them."
Yeah, and that's how a great double act learns its craft. It is not in a TV studio. It was years and years and years on the road, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. You know, going through our career of 59 years together, I always knew that somewhere along the line we'd turn to comedy, because Bobby was naturally funny. And it took, I don't know, maybe 10 to 12 years before we started even trying to do a bit of comedy, you know. And to get to where we were and what we did, I still think, how the heck did all that happen? You know, it's just amazing, amazing.
Well, it is, and the knowledge now that people can watch a high-definition, crystal-clear, perfect condition version of the show on the internet, because, I mean, you must get people stop you all the time saying, how can I watch the show? Where can I get clips? And now that entire body of work is going to sit on the ITV player, and hopefully there'll be people that don't know Cannon and Ball that will start watching.
Yes. Well, I mean, that would be brilliant. I mean, you know, I went into the North Pier in Blackpool on Friday, and I went on. It was what I term as the original variety show. You know, Mick Miller, Jimmy Cricket, Ben Kingsley. These lads were in the variety business, and we went on full house, and they absolutely loved it. I went on, excuse me, I went on last, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. They were all, you know, I shouted to rock on, everybody all shouted rock on Tommy, and it was an absolute magic night. I couldn't get off the pier for people, elderly and young.
Yeah.
You know, because obviously the mum and dad had told these youngsters they were taking them to see you know, a variety show, and it was lovely. It was a magic night, honestly.
Yes, and you're right about it's multi-generational, because funny's funny.
Yeah.
That's why Charlie Chaplin is still funny, and the Marx Brothers, and
that's right.
You know, anyone you care to mention really that was a big star at the time. We're
That's
still
right.
And,
it's true.
And what about, so when you were on stage there, I mean, you know, have you missed that, the live performance and the response of the crowd?
Yeah, because, you know, I suppose when Bob and I were doing it together, it was one of them things. We couldn't get out of the theatre. We couldn't get backstage. Was outside the theatre doors with people wanting autographs. It was just a magical time. I'm never ever going to forget it. My only sadness in it is that Bob is not here to be with me and to enjoy it. You know, it's just it's happened. Sometimes in life these things come and they kick you in the teeth, and you know, somewhere along the line you've got to say, well, hang on a minute here.
Yeah.
We had a legacy. 20 million people watching us, and ITV haven't, you know, done what they should have done for us. And so, yeah, I'm going to keep the legacy going.
Well, that legacy continues, because I've got two really big announcements after the break. One is your brand new autobiography, which is just out, plus plans for a documentary about Cannon and Ball, which Talk Breakfast are fully behind. We'll do all of that next.
I would have absolutely no issue with this man being returned straight to Sudan to serve his sentence in Sudanese custody. Whether that's possible is another matter. And one of the issues we do have to watch in cases like this is ensuring someone is actually punished for their offence. Because what we wouldn't want to do is just someone commit a brutal murder, be thrown out of this country, and then find themselves walking around at home within weeks.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, I'm delighted to say in a Talk Breakfast exclusive, we are joined by the comedy legend Tommy Cannon. And two exciting developments. First of all, a brand new book, which is out now, and it's the perfect Christmas stocking filler. Tommy Cannon, This Is Me, his incredible autobiography with a introduction by Robbie Williams, no less. But there's also a plan for a Cannon and Ball documentary highlighting some of the great moments from their career like this.
Tommy Cannon, famous for being part of a double act called Cannon and Ball. I grew up in a little town called Oldham. I went and got a job as a welder, and that's where my first meeting came with Bob. And he looked up, he said, "You all right, cock? Do you fancy making a double act?" I said, "What?"
Rock on! Hey! Reggie, rock what are you doing? Rock on! What are you doing? I said we want to just come on!
We've been together 59, 60 years, roughly. And we were always in one another's corner, 24/7.
So this is so exciting. There is now a crowdfunder, Tommy, and that is basically encouraging the public to chip into a fund to get this documentary made. Times are hard. Lots of my listeners and viewers are struggling and will find that difficult. I have chipped in myself because I want to see this film.
Yeah, it's we'll get there. It's just offering it to TV companies, if you like, and nobody's sort of wanting to. And I understand it. They're saying we've got no money. I understand it. How true all that is, I've got no idea. But the thing is, this production company, the two lads from Leeds, and they're working hard on it. And so we kick-started it for the documentary. And when we say, please join in, please contribute if you can, and we're not saying dig deep, we're just saying you've got a little bit of something that you think you could contribute to it.
Even a fiver would be welcome, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
And all you've got to do, because I'm very passionate about this, is you just go to the Kickstarter website, which is kickstarter.com, right? Kickstarter, and you just search Cannon and Ball, and up it comes. And it's just important that we tell your story. You want to tell your story, and you want to do it for Bobby as well, Tommy.
Yeah, of course I want to. Yeah, I do. I mean, it's like I said, keep saying, it is a shame that he's not here to be part of it. But I know that in my heart, I want this to happen, if you like, in a lot of ways, more for Bobby than me, because he was such a... he just made comedy from Bobby came so easy.
Yeah.
And I always knew, like I say, I always meant to say, yes, we always knew we were going to do comedy. Well, I certainly did. And for me, all I ever wanted to do in my life was play football or cricket, and ended up TV, 20 million, and I still go, wow, how did all that happen? It's just amazing. And of course, we had a massive general public following. Everywhere we went, pantomimes were full. Summer season, 25 weeks, full. Winter Gardens, 8,000 people a night going in, 2 shows a night, packed to the doors. I just, even now I think back and think, how the heck did all that happen? It's amazing.
Well, what it was, I think, Tommy, far be it from me, but I think hard work, discipline, years on the road, and talent. You are an incredibly funny and talented man. Bobby was.
Yeah.
What's nice about you as a double act is you were pals as well, weren't you? But the book is out, right? This Is Me. Were there ever strains on your relationship with Bobby?
Yes, of course there were. The strains, 59 years together. And I tell the audience when I'm on stage, and I'll probably pick on an elderly couple and say, so, right, look, you've been married for a good few years, haven't you now? So did you ever have any little fallouts and stuff like that? And they both said, yes, of course we did, Tommy. It's normal. It's not something that's, you know, it's a normal thing that happens. Somebody says something, Bob says something, and I say, I didn't like what you said then, Bob. Well, I'm sorry, Tommy, I didn't mean it. Well, we don't say that again. That's a fallout. That's a little upset, but it's part of life. It's part of life.
It's part of life. And my understanding is that, you know, Bobby, for all his talent, there were a couple of personal demons there. I think maybe Tommy, for a little while, he drank a bit too much. And that was obviously, that was quite disruptive until you then got back together, right?
Yeah, I suppose I don't know, because we were so close as a double act, I suppose sometimes being too close can cause upset.
Yeah.
You know, when they were so upset, they were never got to a stage where we said, that's it, it's over, finished, I'm walking out, I've done, and all that. You know, I think I heard a story about Jimmy Jewell and Ben Warris, the double act, and I don't know which one of it was, but one of them they didn't share the same dressing room.
Wow.
And there you go. Everybody said we'd fallen out because we didn't share the same dressing room. For goodness sake, it's crazy. And these two lads were a very funny double act, and I think it was I don't know whether it was Ben Warris or Jimmy Jewell went into one of the dressing rooms and said, and he just going to open his mouth and said, "That's it, it's all over, it's finished." And the other guy got in first. He said, "That's it, it's done. I'm never working with you again." Right. And that was the end to it. You know, so yeah, every double act has its ups and its downs, but basically for 85–90% of the time, it's great.
Yes, and I think that the friendship between you, the chemistry, was why the partnership has been so enduring. The book is out, and it's a perfect Christmas stocking filler, as I say, for any loved one who enjoys comedy. And you've got a very special introduction from pop superstar Robbie Williams.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't in, you know, I should have gone to Newcastle about 4 weeks ago. He was up in Newcastle working, and I couldn't make it. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, I got this phone call. "Hello, Tommy." I said, "Hello." He said, "It's Robbie here." I said, "Oh, hiya, Robbie." He said, "So where are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Robbie. I couldn't make it, pal." He said, "Oh, that's a shame." He said, "I've got my dad's here." Well, his dad used to be a comedian doing the working men's clubs, and me and Bob worked with him years back.
Wow.
See, so I didn't know he'd taken his dad because I wanted to meet him and say, "Oh, man, long time no see," and all that, and have a bit of a chat. Anyway, he said, "Hello, Tommy, I'm here." I said, "Hiya, pal." I said, "I'm sorry I can't make it," and all that. He said, "Oh, don't worry." He said, "We'll meet up again sometime." And it sort of, before Robbie, I don't know why I said this, I said to Robbie, "Hey, Robbie, tell you what might not be a bad idea. If me and you sang a song together." And he paused, a massive pause. And I'm like that with phone. "What?" And he goes, "You know what, Tommy? That might not be a bad idea. See ya." And I went, "Oh my God." Can you imagine?
I am ready for that song. If you can turn that around quickly, we've got a new campaign for Talk Breakfast, which is Christmas #1. Robbie and Tommy. That is nearly as much of a dream team as Cannon and Ball. And by the way, that's the point about your show, the Cannon and Ball show, Tommy, is that there were lots of jokes, comedy sketches, and a bit of acting as well. Yeah. But music and dance was a big part of it, and you can carry a tune.
Yeah, I'm still everybody seems a bit shocked. I think because they're hearing me sing maybe a couple of songs or 2 or 3 songs, whereas when me and Bob worked together, we would go on stage and do a few bars of one song and then finish with a song. So now I'm trying to just put a few more songs in. I'm hoping to do a new CD, going to a recording studio and putting a few tracks down. And because everybody says, "God, Tommy, we didn't realise you could sing so well." I've been singing for 50, 60 years.
Well, it was that rare entertainment back in the day where you'd be laughing and you'd see great choreography, dance routines, and you'd have music as well. It was the whole thing. And now people can see it on the ITV player. I'm so excited about that. And I cannot wait for this documentary. So let me tell my viewers and listeners, kickstarter.com is the website, and you just search Cannon and Ball, and if you're able to, you can chip in to get that documentary made, and of course we'll feature that when it does get made, because I'm sure it will. And the book is out now. Tommy Cannon, This Is Me. Tommy, I've only got a couple of seconds left, but is there anything you'd do differently?
No, not a thing.
Wow.
It was absolutely wonderful. I wish we could start again and go through all the ups and downs that we had and got to the top. It's just been marvellous.
Yeah, and you'd have Bobby back in a flash, as would we all. Props to you, credit to you, and your marvellous son Luke, by the way, who's now your manager and agent, and he's a very you've raised a fine lad there, and I know he's helping you to get the book publicised and the documentary. Tommy Cannon, thank you, and come back and see us again soon. Brilliant. What a privilege. I'm buzzing. I'm starstruck, Peter.
And rightly so.
Peter
The link should be, though, from Cannon to Balls. Here's Peter Cardwell.
Yeah, exactly. Well,